Avert not thine eyes upon that night.
Brother Tian, do these fleeting visions not weary thy soul?
Not a single fair maiden graces them. Wherefore is it not but tidings of the realm?
Companions who know thee are aware thou art but in the final year of schooling, having scarce seen 18 winters. Yet those unacquainting with thee might deem thee an ancient elder, resting after the public revelries. Thus speaks my childhood companion, Gu Shaoqiu. We twain have been brethren since the days of our naked infancy. His tongue is sharp, yet I know his heart intends me well.
菩提，天意，倒还是不好的胎顶是我。
Too many eerie occurrences abound. Forsake thy nocturnal watch.
I gave but little heed to those dark omens he spoke of at the time. Tales of corrupted waters, plagues of delusion and falling stars, sounding as naught but a bard's fanciful tale.
Such matters seemed vastly distant from a humble scholar such as I.
Once the carriage was bereft of souls, a grim foreboding of this night's impending doom arose within me.
The steel vessel of sustenance concealed within my satchel
Served as my final bastion of solace, the western road of the encircling sea, the unavoidable path to my dwelling. Of late, all manner of wicked anomalies have gathered in this place. But a moon ago, this ancient tree of 100 winters fell of its own accord.
Its trunk bore the deep and savage scars of claws.
3 charioteers vanished utterly, leaving neither living flesh nor lifeless corpse. Naught remained, save the crimson-stained earth. And then, mine eyes beheld the mist.
Nay, 'twas not merely seen.
It lunged forth as a torrential flood from the high peaks, as a living beast, akin to the dark vapors in the tales of that fateful wreckage. Yet its swiftness was absolute, consuming half the thoroughfare.
Man and carriage alike were devoured straight into its maw.
My device of far speaking found no tether.
并想出3个和青年。
In that fleeting heartbeat, but a single thought claimed my mind. There is none to whom I may look for salvation this night. Strange murmurings began to echo within mine earpieces, a cacophony of tongues utterly beyond my comprehension. I violently tore them from mine ears, following a clanking din of machinery. Who speaks yon?
No voice answered mine, yet something crawled within the chamber.
It cometh for me. As it stirred, I fled into the woods to seek refuge. Holding my breath, I dared not make a single movement. The sound ceased.
I approach. Show thyself. I behold thee.
In truth, mine eyes saw naught, yet I sought to wager upon a bluff. Perchance another soul lingered nearby. A claw, black as the abyss, pierced forth from the mist. I retreated.
Falling back, I swung my satchel to smite the talon.
It struck the claw, yet did but knock it askew.
Its cruel talons tore 3 jagged rifts upon my pack. Alas, the appendage was but momentarily deflected.
In an instant, a cold sweat drenched my back. The fiend vanished. Without a shadow of a doubt, I made haste toward a carriage of commerce by the wayside. I had borne witness to its swiftness. The foe lay concealed in shadow, whilst I stood exposed in the light. To stand idle was to invite certain doom. A distance of but 7 or 8 paces, I dashed forth with all my might. I cast myself forward, plunging beneath the carriage. The vessel shuddered violently.
Its warning alarms did wail.
The beast commenced a frenzied assault upon the carriage. The 4 wheels of the chassis buckled and swayed. The fuel reservoir breached, dripping oil upon my mantle. The spark struck by its talons, rending the iron hull, could well ignite the fuel and burn me alive. Suddenly, the onslaught ceased. I held my breath, casting my gaze about. It had halted.
A visage, dark as night, abruptly thrust itself beneath the carriage.
Its twain eyes gleaming with a faint, unearthly light.
In the very next moment, the 4-ton carriage was hoisted entirely aloft by its 4 mighty arms.
Much like lifting a stone in my youth, and akin to the fishes fleeing from beneath it, I dared not match my meager strength against it, but darted forth, swift as an arrow in flight. When first I was beset by this terror, I had already contrived a path of deliverance to the refuse yard upon the western way, wherein rest great iron coffers for the crushing of waste. The narrow confines therein would surely bind its movements. No sooner had my boots crossed the threshold than the carriage was hurled to the earth, and the mists dispersed. At long last, I beheld the creature in its entirety, a fiend of 2 visages, its 4 limbs dark and unnaturally elongated. I cast forth my satchel, splashing the foul beast with combustible oil.
Yet it but hindered the monster's pace a fraction.
And its dreadful talon swept toward me still. It grazed my very back, rending the stone wall asunder.
The iron coffers within the refuse yard formed a winding labyrinth of narrow passages. I fled, cleaving tightly to the corners, using the blind angles to evade its strikes thrice in succession. Enraged, it brought down a mighty blow with all its fury. I leapt aside. Its talons struck the great iron coffer behind me. The iron vessel was shattered by the single blow, and upon its severed iron door, fallen to the earth, bore a dire warning. peril of great lightning. The ensuing sparks set the oil ablaze. Plumes of smoke began to rise from the fiend's flesh. Flames danced upon its dark and accursed hide.
It hath caught. Truly, it hath caught. I stripped off my garments and cast them unto the beast, flinging my heavy cloak directly over its twin visages. Its piteous, blood-curdling wails tore through the night. I collapsed upon the opposing side of the thoroughfare, trembling in every limb. I drew in heavy, ragged breaths as the reflection of the flames danced within my eyes. The beast hath perished at last. Yet in the ensuing breath, the refuse grounds erupted with a thunderous roar. The mighty shockwave rent the glass asunder. A severed hand, smoldering and wreathed in smoke, burst forth from the fiery inferno. Here I could comprehend the spectacle. A spectral tablet of translucent azure
Materialized sudden before mine eyes.
Thence a torrent of warmth surged from deep within my vessel. Radiance of sapphire and gold burst from my breast, coursing unto the very ends of my limbs. Sensed a simulacrum of the phantom god's essence. Slain by the summoned sapient mortal, Lin Qianyi.
唯浅一是挥把关天的地白坏的替物的声音。
Judgment of the Adil, rank triple S. Afar, the leaking iron carriage was consumed in a tempest of flames.
The fiery blaze did straightway illuminate the nocturnal heavens. I sprang forth from the earth with sudden vigor. Mine eyes, hitherto clouded,
Sharpened to keenest vigilance.
I gazed down upon the severed extremity clasped within my grasp.
Most eerie it was, for not a single drop of lifeblood spilled.
The severed root bore marks of blackened char and veins of deepest crimson. I paused in fleeting hesitation
And bound the sundered hand tight within my fist. I righted my two-wheeled steed, its helm left crooked.
Behind me lay the burning refuse. I cast but a single glance backward, then hastened into the shadows, vanishing from sight. I thrust open the heavy door and crossed the threshold. With a swift turn of hand, I secured the lock behind me. I kindled every luminary within the great chamber, one preceding another.
The radiant lights awakened in sequence,
banishing the encroaching darkness entirely.
Thereupon, I collapsed heavily upon the resting couch.
I raised the measuring instrument and leveled it against my brow. A chime sounded. 37 degrees. No fever burns within. This is no phantom of the mind. I cast my gaze downward.
Upon the severed hand I had held fast all the while,
Cold as the grave and blackened by the flame. The severed flesh bore a dark crimson hue. Upon releasing my grasp, the azure apparition sprang forth anew. I gave my head a fervent shake and passed my hand before mine eyes. Yet the apparition remained unyielding. Then the script upon the tablet shifted. Rejoice, mortal ascendant, Lin Qianyi. According to the understanding of men, thou mayest know me as the first edict of the cosmos. The voice resonated, as if from the fathomless depths of the void. My countenance shifted from profound shock to utter bewilderment, and at last settled into a grave and complex resolve. Edict of Ascension, I murmured, in solemn repetition. I sat upon the couch, the azure tablet floating before me. I extended a solitary finger and tapped upon the empty air, as though commanding an unseen parchment. Heaven selects, and only the worthy prevail. All at once, a script manifested upon the tablet. Declare thy chosen title. I furrowed my brow and tentatively inscribed the words, Armament of the Demon Lord. The tablet flashed with crimson runes. This title is already claimed. My countenance darkened. How doth this differ from peasants bickering over a common alias? I hastily inscribed anew, Arrow of the Mortal Dust, and the Fifth Emperor, the ever-victorious sovereign. Alas, all were claimed. I drew a deep breath, fixing my gaze upon the apparition. Is it truly such a toil to forge a proper title? I fell into a moment's contemplation, and slowly inscribed 3 words. Mirror of mist. The tablet froze in an instant, radiating a brilliant azure light. Title confirmed. Mirror of mist and light. Once decreed, it cannot be undone. Here I could gather my wit. My eyes widened in sudden awe. The whole of the chamber did twist and reconstruct itself. The celestial river of stars grew infinitely vast, as a great vessel of the cosmos drifted slowly by. The wall before me parted like a theatrical veil, forged by the collective consciousness of mortal men. Ere I could rise to my feet, the long chair did violently invert beneath me, much like a hidden snare or trapdoor, plunging my entire being into the depths. All about me transformed into a sanctum of profound artifice, a workshop brimming with wondrous mechanisms. A sudden voice did echo forth, deafening unto the ears, and fraught with a crushing majesty. The voice spake thus: Greetings, thou ascended of mortal flesh, that thou hearest my voice. Signifiest thy passage through the trials of ascension, within the borders of Wa. This missive serves as both thy guiding light and a solemn warning. Sweat beaded upon my brow, as I gritted my teeth. Then, its tone grew sharp and wintry. The authority offereth two paths for thy choosing. First, to resume the life of a commoner, keeping thy transcendent nature forever veiled, and partaking in the peace of ordinary subjects. Second, to pledge thyself unto our sovereign order, to be bestowed the honors of the most exalted scholars, and to stand as the shield of this great realm. The crushing weight of its majesty grew ever fiercer. I was bowed nigh unto the earth beneath its might. I braced myself upon my trembling hands, whilst from the corner of mine eye, I beheld my innate title, conqueror of the mighty from frailty, gleaming brightly, its potency surging unto the heavens. The voice crashed down upon me like the fury of a tempest. Shouldst thou transgress, thou shalt be struck down, wheresoever thou mayest flee. The voice faded into the void. I gasped violently for breath, my form drenched in cold sweat, as the surging power of mine innate title did ebb and recede. I restored mine senses from the kite's realm under the fifth measure. I did wipe away the cold sweat, making my way unto the form's precinct. Upon the mystic tableau did manifest three paramount edicts concerning the trial of purification, detailed intelligence that may be proclaimed unto all, an exhaustive exposition of the purifier's tableau, an introduction unto the trading hall of the interwoven ruins. I did invoke the first edict, its very script swiftly materializing before mine eyes. My countenance did shift from ease to grave solemnity, and I drew my posture upright. The missive's true text arose, revealing itself word by word. The tidings thus far known are these. The mantle of the evolver may be wrested away by any living beast or being, to be usurped and inherited by beasts, by one's own kin, by those of cursed lineage, or phantoms and deities of the unseen, or by demonic fiends and chimeras of illusion. Mine pupils did violently constrict. Mine hand hung arrested in the empty air. The mantle of the evolver, I murmured softly unto myself, my voice parched and hollow, may be wrested away by any creature that doth breathe. Upon the tableau did spring forth the tidings of the mortal realm, the yearly toll of the fallen, 60 to 90 millions of souls, and of the evolvers, 100,000 unto 3 million. And the descent of eldritch horrors doth multiply with terrifying haste. Thus, the ranks of the evolvers swell in monstrous measure. The tableau then turned to the rate of the evolvers, perishing. A sanguine, emboldened script leapt forth unto mine eyes. The chief doom of the solitary evolval, to be ensnared by rival sects, and thereupon slain by the hands of mere mortals, that their mantle of evolution might be thus usurped. I furrowed mine brow in grim distress. This mantle of the evolver is but a prize of succulent flesh to the wolves. To cloak oneself within the waking world is a paramount charge above all else. The tableau swiftly shifted to display the burdens of the quest. Visions did flicker before mine eyes, like the swift severing of a blade. The subjugation quest, an ancient field of war, a heart pierced by the waking quest, the eldritch terrors that shroud the city of men. Monstrous fiends casting themselves upon innocent wanderers. The quest of strife, the bitter standoff betwixt mortal men and foul beasts. The linear clash within the realms of subjugation. The three grand quests. Most perilous of all is the third, a ceaseless struggle unto death. The mystic pain doth manifest a fourth classification of quest, encircled by three crimson sigils of calamity. Upon the quest of ascension, 3 lines of blood-red script leap forth. Within the span of half a year, ascend or face thy doom. My might is far too frail. To shirk this evolution is death. I draw a profound breath. To evolve too slowly is not the path to ruin. I dismiss the tidings and turn my gaze toward the armory pane. Mine eyes alight upon the twain coffers displayed upon the armory pane. One radiateth an emerald luminescence, the other casteth a gentle alabaster glow. I make haste to compare them upon the communal scrolls. My countenance transformeth from bewilderment unto profound astonishment.
A coffer of legendary provenance.
The communal scrolls proclaim that every novice is granted but a single chest. How is it that I possess twain?
The communal scrolls proclaim that every novice is granted but a single chest.
The monstrosity I did slay yielded 2 such coffers. I look back upon the shattered timepiece resting upon the craftsman's bench. Was no common aberration, was a fiend of the highest order, perchance a lord amongst gods and demons. Visions flash with swiftness across my mind's eye. The screed visions of the ancient tree brought low, the spectral claw upon the carriage door, the ascended ones, doing battle against the dread god. Visions of ruin. My gaze falleth once more upon the 2 coffers. My fingers hover above the wooden chest that bleedeth emerald light. Unseal this one, I speak, commanding the verdant box to open. With a resounding creak, the lid is cast back, and the green radiance bursteth forth. A scroll unfurleth of its own accord. It transmuteth into a streak of emerald, spiraling through the air, a capricious enchantment of armaments. The scroll. It seeketh at random an armament within the span of a single pace, that stow its mystic enchantment. After tracing a full circle through the air, the emerald glow thus plunge fiercely into the quill holder upon the craftsman's bench. I pour forth all contents from the quill holder, comparing them unto a measuring rule.
A craftsman's blade. I take up each artifact to inspect it, till my hands grasp the craftsman's blade.
An ethereal slate doth appear, the black gold half-blade of excellent craftsmanship.
It bears a grievous boon of destruction against the giant kin. Its sole virtue lies herein. It may be magnified or diminished at will. My countenance doth darken. Its sole virtue seest thou. I take up the craftsman's blade and cleave the very air. In but a fleeting moment, the blade doth elongate. From the mere span of a palm, it springeth forth into a long sword of 4 feet. The edge pierceth the wind, radiating a brilliant luminescence. With both hands clasping the hilt, I do behold it with cautious reverence. The steel is etched with diamond facets, gleaming with a dreadful, wicked sharpness. My thumb doth trace the mechanism upon the hilt. The blade draweth back. I stow the craftsman's tool within my pocket. Very well. That which best fits the hand is the finest weapon of all. My gaze turneth unto the second chest of treasure, a metallic coffer of legendary provenance. I draw a profound breath and command it to be opened. A blinding golden radiance doth burst forth. Mine eyes widen in awe. A ring, as black as the midnight void, hovereth amidst the air. I take hold of the ring, and the ethereal slate doth reveal the Black Eye Ring, a legendary band of holding. Its mystical boon, to house physical artifacts, to house the very souls of the departed, and to contain the living flame. Its lore. It remaineth unseen by the eyes of other ascended ones.
I fix my gaze upon the band.
My countenance caught in a tempest of thoughts. A sudden remembrance strikes me. I summon mine inventory of armaments. Verily, it possesseth a void of 5 cubic measures within. I draw the black gold half-blade from my pocket, and don the ring upon my finger. Yet the blade doth not vanish into the void. I furrow my brow. Doth it falter? I peruse the edicts required to command the ring. Requirement of mastery. 1 spirit must number 8 or greater. I summon the ethereal slate of mine own attributes. Ascendant 0. First tier. Strength 7. Agility. Constitution 7. Spirit. Devoid of accoutrement. Devoid of arts. Unallocated attribute essences 5. I must needs bestow these essences to wield it. I set the ring upon the artisan's bench for the nonce. I invoke the remaining duo of bounties. The summoning commenceth, drawing forth an individual art. Grant me an art of offense, I beseech thee. An art of offense. Description of the art. It may be invoked to mend the flesh. Expends 4 points of spirit to swiftly knit together grievous wounds. Even the regrowth of severed limbs is but a trifling matter. My countenance darkens. Yet another art of preservation tethered unto spirit. Gnashing my teeth, I break the seal upon the final bounty, drawing forth an art of malediction. Acquired the hex. Shadow Strike. Drawing forth an art of malediction. Acquired the hex. Shadow Strike. Tier of the art. First tier description. Expends 10 points of spirit.
Within a span of 1 to 15 paces,
Summon forth an arm of shadow to strike in unison with thee. I loose a breath of solace. Is an art of offense. At the very least, I invoke it post-haste. An arm of pure shadow erupts from the earth. Beneath the lantern's glow, it waves unto me. The appendage taps against my cheek. 'Tis exceedingly feeble. With such meager might, it could scarce lift a humble stone. I extinguish the illumination of the artisan's bench. In an instant, the shadowy limb solidifies, hoisting me skyward with effortless grace. Lost in contemplation, I perceive the deeper the gloom, the more fearsome its potency. My gaze descends upon the 5 unallocated essences on the ethereal slate, then shifts to the ring of black stone upon the bench, and the severed hand resting beside it. Mine own fingers hover betwixt the attributes of spirit and strength. 3 essences must be bestowed upon spirit to wield the ring, yet strength is the truest bastion of survival. I draw a profound breath, bestowing 3 unbound points unto spirit, that I may claim the ring. The slate reneweth. Spirit now stands at 8, is sufficient for now to fulfill the ring's demands. 5th, I take up the black rock ring and pierce my finger, anointing the band with mine own blood. The crimson offering is devoured. I cast my mind's eye within. My visage of anticipation curdleth into silent dismay. The expanse therein is vast indeed, yet it is but an empty void. It holds absolutely naught. I unveil the mercantile ledger to seek out spatial rings. A common spatial ring appeareth before me. 1 cubic meter exacteth the toll of 30,000 purifying coins. An epic spatial ring. 100 cubic meters demandeth 1,000,000 purifying coins. Such artifacts command a king's ransom. I gaze upon mine own coffers. A mere 100 coins remain. I draw a sharp breath. How exorbitant the cost! I attempt to proffer the black rock ring unto the auction block. Soul, down relic. Should the host perish, the artifact shall vanish into the ether. Little wonder none peddle such legendary wares. In death, they are reduced to naught. I close the mercantile ledger and consult the grand archives for the uses of a spatial realm. Moments later, mine eyes ignite. A wandering vault. Joys from the realms of trial may be brought forth within it. Yet, unto me in this present hour is naught but a hollow boon, bereft of true worth. I shake my head and draw forth the black gold half-blade from my vestment. I carve a shallow tribute into mine own arm. I invoke the incantation. Technique of reversal. In but a single breath, the flesh knits itself anew, leaving not even the phantom of a scar. I stand before the crafter's bench, rolling my shoulders. The slate revealeth my present vessel. Strength 7, Agility 7, Vitality 7, Spirit 8. Equipped, Black Gold Half-Blade, Black Rock Ring, Arts Mastered, Technique of Reversal, Shadow Strike, Passive Title. Triumph of the lesser over the greater. I have labored through the entirety of the night. At long last, I possess some modest means to preserve my life. The system doth proclaim. The palace of consciousness shall severed its bond ere 5 minutes pass. 'Tis time I returned, so I am bound to attend the academy this day. I don the black rock ring upon my digit and conceal the crafting blade within my breeches. Thence I reach forth to claim the severed hand upon the workbench. I cast a gaze upon it. Wisps of black smoke do rise from betwixt its fingers. The spatial round doth spin, and all vanishes into the void. With a start, mine eyes fly open. I find myself seated upon the settee within mine own parlor, enveloped in naught but absolute darkness, save for the faint glimmer of street lamps piercing through the casement. I cast my gaze downward. The severed hand yet rests upon the tea table. I draw the crafting blade from my breeches. It too remains, as doth the black rock ring upon my finger. I loose a long and heavy sigh. It was no dream. I arise and illuminate the parlor. I place the severed hand upon the tea table. Mine eyes sweep across the furnishings of my abode, when from the corner of mine eye, I spy without the window the fleeting silhouette of a man. Thereupon the system swiftly heralds a quest of confrontation. Triggered. The contest for suiting. Quest objective. Slay the usurper who comes to thieve. Penalty for failure. All attributes diminished by 1 measure, and the forfeiture of the severed hand. A quest of confrontation. I have but newly ascended as an evolver, a figure, donning a mask of black vortex, and clad in martial garb. Volts, straightway into my chamber. Fearest thou not the wrath of the authorities? Whelp, there layeth the barrier of reality's distortion, without.
Thou couldst scream thy throat raw, and those below would hear not.
To dwell in so ruinous a hovel, thou must surely be a destitute wretch. Had I not placed a cursed mark upon Sutian, I would ne'er have uncovered thy hiding place. To trigger a quest of confrontation, the very moment he arrives. Count thyself unfortunate. Retreat but a single step for me. The title Triumph of the Weak hath been invoked. System prompt. Triumph of the Weak doth trigger physique of justice. I swiftly reckoned in my heart that the adversary must be of the 5th level at the very least. Yet the invocation of this title doth signify he is not vastly superior in might to myself. Surrender thy possessions unto me, the severed hand of Sacha, and those artifacts thou hast bartered from the exchange. Then forsake thy quest of that own accord, and I shall spare thy mortal life. I feigned hesitation, that he might deem me gripped by fear. Art thou certain to spare my life? It is beneath my dignity to deceive a novice such as thee. Surrender them. I shall count but thrice. Retreating to the kitchen's threshold, I raised my hands. Discharge not thy weapon, I cried out, and with a sweep of my right hand cast forth a pile of sundries from within the ring. Toy armaments? Thou dearest to make a fool of me. The barrel spewed forth a dense volley of iron grit. The scattered sundries were all struck down fiercely. I wrenched out the gas conduit beneath the hearth. I cast it aside. The projectile struck the conduit. The severed conduit thrashed wildly upon the ground. Yet there was no eruption of flame. The white vapor seeped out and veiled the air. Both of us were caught in a moment of sheer bewilderment. My shoulder and thigh were pierced by the shot. Boy, thou lackest even a single piece of armor. 'Tis so wretched a sight. It truly pains the heart. He withdrew his firearm. From his satchel, a blood-red scythe manifested out of thin air. Above his head sprang the ethereal title, the Evolver. Ruth Blade. Title skill invoked. Walker of the Deadlands. Summon the Seath of the Sovereign's vengeance. He beheld the level title hovering above my head and burst into uproarious laughter. To think thou art but level 1, I truly fathom not how thou didst slay Senua. He dashed forward, stirring the gray dust. I rolled aloud. Perish! I thrust my hand upon the igniter of the gas hearth.
As the flames parted, the chamber lay in ruin. the furnishings ablaze.
A pall of black smoke filled the air. The masked fiend tumbled to the earth. His mantle was torn to shreds, his flesh marred by grievous wounds.
He staggered to his feet.
Wretched brat, thou hast cost me dearly.
He turned his palm.
Drew forth his blunderbuss once more, leveling it at mine breast. Were it not for the fleeting vigor bestowed upon me, I would surely be dead. He loosed shot after shot. At the very instant the projectiles took flight, an arm formed of darkest shadow sprang forth from the void.
His eyes widened in sheer disbelief
as he beheld me charging forth, cleaver in hand.
A disembodied voice echoed in mine ears. Quest fulfilled.
The foe slain by a merciless blade, down of death. 100 points of ascendance.
Pure fire of the lightless realm. Promoted, I slump beside the lifeless husk,
Coughing with great violence.
invoking the right of reversal. My wounds did swiftly mend, the charred, dead flesh sloughed away, and the hair upon my brow and head grew anew. I sat upon the earth, adrift in reverie, mine countenance a tapestry of tangled humors. The barriers slowly ebbed into nothingness,
Leaving but 3 artifacts upon the ground. Upon an ascendant's demise, their transcendent essence doth fade. I took up the mask to examine it. Visage of the tale weaver's master, of exquisite make, conceals wards against venom and blast alike. I opened the merchant's ledger and offered the mask for barter. For 1,900 coins of purity, it was claimed in an instant.
was sold for a pittance.
the liquor of vital restoration. 2nd grade.
Of common make,
It quickens the rebirth of the flesh.
And doth slowly mend both grievous wound and wearied spirit.
the summons of the blood lord.
A blunderbuss of exquisite craft. It drinketh of blood to forge its own ammunition. Unleash thy volley without restraint. Relish in its boundless munitions. Yet beware, for excess in firing shall ravage thy mortal vessel.
Heeding this inscription, I opened mine own ledger of evolution. Upon the morrow, being of the 2nd tier, I must purchase defensive raiment ere I sleep.
Mine eyelids grow heavy, refusing to be lifted. I pinch my thigh with great vigor.
Yet, the urge to slumber crashes upon me like a mighty tide. I must not yield to sleep.
1 point of attribute remaineth unspent, and my raiment of defense is yet unbought.
My device of communication doth tremble madly beside my pillow.
By the gods, if thou didst not answer my call,
I was nigh ready to dispatch my coachman to seek thee at thine abode.
Yesternight, a great calamity of fire and ruin erupted near thy dwelling.
I was grievously wearied on the Esther, and thus slept past the dawn. I shall make haste for the academy this very instant. I have already secured thy leave of absence from the masters. We shall converse further within our study hall this afternoon.
'Tis enough that thou drawest breath.
I arose from my bedding and opened the Palace of Evolution. Entering the Grand Bazaar, I made swift perusal amongst the armaments of defense.
At last my gaze fell upon one carbie of worth. The cloth-armored greatcoat of North Mano, with collar upturned.
Impervious to both the leaden ball and the cleaving blade.
Its burden is but 4.7 kilograms in weight.
Donning the greatcoat, I stood before the looking glass.
In one hand, the half-blade of black gold.
In the other, the summons of the Blood Lord. I gave a nod of deep contentment.
Stowing all armaments within my ring of holding, my defense is now secured. Yet, for a visage-concealing mask, I must rely upon mine own wits. I consulted my device to chart the path ahead.
Is it not merely a trial of evolution?
I am a man of mortal flesh.
Survival demandeth more than mere brute strength.
It requireth cunning and wisdom. I strode into the hall of learning, just as the bells of instruction tolled.
令圈议，为国二道大帝王自谋。
Be gone to the rear of the chamber, and stand whilst that hearken to the lesson. Smiling, I strode to the rear and took my standing place.
殿下朝魏时他下，
Master,
Slumber lies heavy upon me this afternoon. I too beseech thee to stand whilst hearkening to thy...
Bearing his tome, he drew nigh unto my side.
The rustling of parchment echoed forth as the scholars turned their pages. I ask thee, hath a great calamity fallen nigh unto thy dwelling?
The white mist hath manifested once more.
A carriage of commerce and the refuse yard did burst asunder. The western road encircling the sea is utterly barricaded. My sire rode forth to inspect. 'Tis said, the carriage door bears the marks of rending claws. The covert ministry hath spirited the carriage away.
The magistrate doth proclaim it but an eruption of foul vapors.
'Tis falsehood. Mark well what I did foretell.
In truth, beasts of shadow do lurk upon the western road.
所以查草，细杂卧铺隐灵的这儿。
林天意, return unto thy seat.
毕小乔，到修这面试见礼。
The bells of dismissal did toll.
The prefect of melodies, Xiao Shihan, spake. Lin Tingyu one seeketh fan audience. I stepped onto the threshold. A maiden of fair complexion, garbed, woven threads of black and white stripes, stood before the portal. Greetings unto thee, elder scholar. I am named Wei Lele.
The newly arrived disciple.
tutor Zhao Yumi.
Think bidden me to beseech thee for thy scrolls of alchemy of the second form. Tarry but a moment, I shall fetch them for thee.
Scarcely had I turned to re-enter the hall,
When a throng of youths encompassed me. By the heavens,
is that not Wei Lele, the newly crowned fairest of our academy?
that the twain of you are acquainted.
Speak true. Resistance shall be met with harsh penance.
Confess, and thou shalt find mercy.
Begone! Begone with ye all!
The maiden came but to borrow my scrolls of learning.
Proceed straightway to the chamber of replication to scribe a copy.
Thou mightst return the original to me ere long. Fair scholar, thou dost tread the wrong path. The chamber of replication lieth upon the 5th tier of the second hall of learning. The 5th tier of the second hall of learning, adjacent to the great feasting hall. Ascend unto the 5th tier, and it shall be revealed to thine eyes.
Thus speaking, I turned my back and strode unto the threshold of our hall of study. Glancing not be,
A fellowship of youths did stamp their feet in great distress.
Small wonder thou art bereft of a maiden's companionship.
Wherefore didst thou forsake so wondrous an opportunity?
By the heavens, Lin Chenyi, how hast thy countenance grown so exceedingly fair?
In truth, thy visage hath grown wondrously comely.
Cease thy jesting. Away with you all, begone.
The youths did erupt into joyous mirth.
Haha.
I wager you have never dwelt within these scholastic lodgings before.
The chamber of cleansing in our dwelling possesses naught but basins for squatting.
It lacks vessels of stature for the passing of water.
Because this manor was formerly a sanctuary for the maidens.
Of this tale, I am well informed.
The academy doth harbor a surplus of maidens.
Thus, the grander halls of the young men were bestowed upon them. All lies.
It is because the lands lying behind this edifice are barren waste, which struck terror into the maidens' hearts.
I have heard whispers that mortals have perished within these very walls.
Aye, and more than but a single soul.
The nether essence of the fallen elder maidens grew too heavy to suppress.
Thus were the men of valor brought forth to dwell here, and ward away the shadows.
Speaks that the truth or a falsehood?
Heed not his prattle of an elder maiden clad in crimson vestments.
The poor soul was struck down by a sudden seizing of the heart,
And her slumbering robes were of a pale rose hue.
yet through idle gossip, the legend of the Crimson Maiden was forged.
'Tis concerning the ancient sepulchre unearthed behind our academy. 3 scholars did scale the outer walls at the midnight hour to pilfer sacred relics. They fell into the crypt and were choked of their breath, not more.
The quest doth commence.
Scholastic lore of ghosts and ghouls. Yet my countenance remained wholly unmoved. I forthwith chose to accept the binding pact. An evening's solitary studies concluded, I laid my head upon the desk, feigning slumber, and projected my spirit into the forum of ascension. Well, to swiftly seek the wisdom of elders in conquering quests of ghostly lore.
The Grolls decree that the Shi Academy stands as a fountainhead of these spectral tales,
Manifesting a localized realm of ethereal harvest. Upon withdrawing from the gathering of spirits, I commanded my scrying glass to unearth the chronicles of supernatural occurrences at the Shi Academy. The architectural scrolls of the Academy, chronicles regarding the ancient tombs of the Academy's history. Furthermore, I expended time to divine and harness the Jumantic omens.
To this ever wise to be prepared against unforeseen perils.
The chimes, signaling the cessation of instruction, echoed. I stepped into a desolate chamber of ablution. The ethereal voice of the system chimed, declaring the rites to commence the trial.
Evolver, seek ye a sealed sanctum.
Remain in utter solitude, and await thy spatial transference. The spoils of this trial shall be proclaimed upon thine entry into the realm. At long last, it hath arrived. A relic of instantaneous purification shall be randomly forfeit. I entered a partitioned alcove and secured the latch, drawing a profound breath. Resting against the bulwark of the alcove, I veiled mine eyes. The illumination within the alcove began to contort. The very walls rippled as the surface of a disturbed pool. Fiercely, I cast mine eyes open. The earth beneath my feet vanished into naught. My entire being plummeted into the abyss. Withered vines, ancient trees, and twilight crows. A waning sun over monuments, pale as snow, painting the training grounds beyond the casement in a sea of crimson. I found myself standing within a cramped and shadowy atelier. 5 souls were already present within, maintaining a guarded distance from one another, remaining ever vigilant. Swiftly, I cast a surveying gaze upon the gathering. In the shadows lurked a man clad in knightly armor, bearing a visage concealed by a fanged visor, holding the tether of a wicked obsidian hound. Oh, what a charming hound. Great, Lord Red Sun. Is this endearing creature the companion of thy grand title? A mere novice of the 2nd tier, little brother of the visors. Thy name is most peculiar. Yet this elder sister fancies thee. 'Twould be best if thou kept thy distance from him. This young novice had felled an evolver of the 5th rank. He did butcher a 5th rank, whilst yet at the 1st, thereby ascending in power. Fret not. The monocle affixed unto my mask doth only perceive the murderous tally of our comrades. For better thou aim thy weapon at him than at me. He bears the blood of 4 novices of the 2nd and 3rd ranks upon his hands. Was a grave folly that the corpulent lay did not strike thee down upon our last encounter.
Cease this prattle. This is a quest of survival.
We are now bound together upon the self-same vessel.
Let us make our names known to one another. Thou shalt speak first. Greetings, esteemed lords.
I am a true priest of the Tao, possessing true relics wherewith to vanquish fiends and purge demons. This present quest aligneth perfectly with mine calling.
I serve as an unsworn retainer to the sovereign order of the 9 cauldrons. When this quest doth reach its end, whosoever desireth to join the 9 cauldrons may seek my counsel.
A sudden stir arose within my breast, an evolver of the sovereign order.
Wherefore doth this stir so strange and familiar a sentiment?
Seeing as an emissary of the 9 cauldrons is amongst us,
Would be best if ye all set aside your petty schemes.
This is a trial of survival.
if we bind not our hearts and strength as one,
Even I might not survive to see its completion.
thou didst proclaim to possess great knowledge of this quest.
As for this domain, the varieties of wraiths and fiends are most manifold.
By the flow of dark yin energy, 'tis divided into 4 realms: the training grounds,
The halls of learning, the bedchambers,
and the barren wastes of the rear mount.
Did you not marvel, whilst gazing upon the parchment map, wherefore the training grounds possess but 2 solitary pillars?
It's the primordial 8 trigrams.
the twain pillars serve as the eyes of the formation.
Heaven and earth decree the bounds. Mountain and lake exchange their breath. Yet, if one consults the alignment of the primordial trigrams,
Save for the trigrams of heaven, earth, fire, and water, being turned sunward.
the signs of mountain, thunder, wind, and lake are shifted a full quadrant, arrayed in twain distinct strata, and bound together with the twain pillars of the great gate on the flanks of the principal hall of learning. Do not the dormitories resemble twin candles offered in reverence? Countless spirit tablets. Pray, grant me the conclusion forthwith.
The sun draweth near its setting. All the trigrams do oppose and suppress one another,
'Tis purposed to subdue the wicked and vile.
leaving them to slaughter one another amidst mutual ruin.
Yet in this very place an edifice once stood and hath been raised.
The grand ward of geomancy hath been wholly shattered, a domain of profound yin that nourisheth foul souls.
This place was aforetime a dry privy.
Then it does stand to reason.
The exalted master employed the privy
To seal utterly the sole gate of life within the 8 trigrams slaughtering array.
The gate of life being broken, the grand array hath ceased its turning.
Thus, this domain hath become a paradise for fiends and specters.
Were doubt able to restore this array?
The system's decree doth suddenly resound. Phase the first. Quest fulfilled. Trial goers expected. 10 souls.
6 souls present of 10. Phase the second hath commenced. Purge the 3 obstructions within the earth's veins. Restore and awaken the array. Duration of the trial, 5 hours. Reward upon triumph, 300 points of trial experience, 1 coffer of random quality, and 500 coins of purification. Red Sun's countenance doth change.
A realm forged for 10 souls.
Yet, for there be, who would sooner forfeit their armaments than venture to the 3 obstructed array cores?
The earthbound spirit within the looking glass of the principal hall. Crimson-clad phantom of the senior maiden in the dining hall and women's quarters.
And the general's tomb upon the rear mountain.
I am best suited to stand guard, whilst the disciple of Vuntinchen doth lay the array. This artifact can bestow a sanctuary of fleeting, yet absolute safety. I have requisitioned a great bounty of armaments to suppress ghostly entities.
Entrust the dormitories unto me.
Red Sun hath spoken.
The general's tomb is the most perilous.
I shall journey to the rear mountain. I must take 1 companion.
Shadow, thou art the newcomer. Make thy choice.
I possess no means to vanquish earthbound spirits, nor shadowy phantoms.
Yet I am possessed of the arts of restoration.
As long as but a single breath remains,
Severed arms and legs may be regenerated in a fleeting moment.
Yet it may be invoked but a single time.
kiss sufficient, so long as the head remains tethered unto the body.
Excellent, 'tis well.
The main pavilion shall fall to Jibaro.
I shall bear the mirror of material light unto the general's tomb. As the final glimmer of the setting sun doth fade,
The realm beyond the window descends into profound darkness. From the distant direction of the scholastic halls,
a mournful cry that quakes the very earth resounds. Talismans of warding, 1 for each among thee.
3 seals of palm thunder for each, to ward against the possession of fell spirits.
Draw blood from thy palm to invoke their power.
1 spirit-quelling talisman for each.
Affix it upon thy brow,
And the spectral horde shall be rendered blind unto thee.
Anoint thine eyes with the tears of the great ox, and ethereal forms shall be laid bare. The company steps forth to anoint themselves.
I remain composed.
betraying naught. Operating the mechanisms within the feeding trough of the purifying palace,
I transfer 100 purifying tokens unto the disciple of the profound heavens.
a moment hence, a missive reaches me. The lightning tribulation, sword of peach wood,
10 seals of palm thunder,
1 golden light incantation, 2 talismans of breath concealment,
3 spirit-quelling talismans, 1 talisman of the 3 purities for seeking phantoms.
setting forth. The fellowship arrives at the grand hall on the ground floor, standing directly before a looking glass. The demonic hound growls low at the mirrored surface. Mine eyes, anointed with the ox's tears, do perceive. The frame is as a gateway, and the shadows within, ripples do manifest upon the mirror's face, and the silhouettes of the others appear once more. We 6 divide into 4 bands to carry out our charge. I follow the red sun toward the rear mountain. Scarce had we twain emerged from behind, when a thunderous explosion echoes from the academy grounds. The very earth quakes, as thick smoke and flames pierce the heavens. The windows of every edifice are shattered asunder,
And countless black eldritch horrors pour forth from the breaches.
circling the firmament like unto a flock of wild fowl, towards the sleeping quarters. Numberless diaphanous wraiths pour forth from the stones.
The elder magistrate unloosed a thunderclap from his palm.
A blinding flash of lightning blooms. The spectral forms are vaporized into naught, yet a tormenting agony pierces his very palm. Red sun seizes me most violently, and draweth me into the palace of shadow's purification. A missive doth manifest within our spiritual communion.
I have employed the ancient lore to beguile senior sister Hani into trusting me.
She leadeth me in our hasty retreat even now.
Tidings of woe. I have blown the sleeping quarters asunder.
the node of yin energy hath ruptured.
The legion of malevolent spirits beneath his command doth pursue us with blades drawn. The training grounds teem with creatures of yin. My strength faileth me.
Senior sister Hani further spake.
That other evolvers have tread upon this realm heretofore. All manner of eldritch terrors yearn to seize the mantle of the evolver. This realm's manifestation was deliberately provoked by General Shao.
He seeketh to ascend as an evolver of non-human flesh.
For an eldritch terror to lay claim to the evolval station,
There remaineth but one path.
to forcefully bind their soul in union with that of a mortal evolver. To bring him within bears to crave apparel. Should he fall into the clutches of the foe, our sacred quest shall instantly meet with ruin. Our stratagem is altered. I shall venture within, alone. Thou shalt stand vigil without, ready to render aid. Affix the talisman of the true spirit upon thy person, and cloak thy steps in absolute shadow.
Hadst thou the resolve to see this done?
It shall be done. Red sun turns, pacing toward the general's sepulchre. Before the distant gates of the general's sepulchre, skeletal sentinels clad in sundered mail maintain their ceaseless vigil. I crouch upon the upper ridge of the hollow, drawing forth the true spirit talisman and pressing it unto my flesh. Yet another missive emerges within the communion. Young Master Chow, who among ye shall come to aid against these southern phantoms?
Therein dwells one wielding a mop, whose swiftness is most preternatural.
The low, somber beating of war drums echoes in the distance. The grating of bone upon bone doth sound, faint and ethereal. Before the threshold of the general's sepulchre lies a hollowed basin. Upon either flank stand 2 true spirit beasts of upright wood. Red Sun draws forth from his satchel several verdant, acidic gourds and casts them toward the wooden gates. The wooden beasts ascend, thrashing their tails in a sweeping strike. The acidic gourds burst asunder, descending as a torrential golden rain, their forms in me white vapor, dissolving wholly into a mere pool of blood. Thus, they are so simply vanquished. Red Sun firmly affixes the true spirit talisman. I shall commune with thee upon my emergence. See to thine own safety. He charges forth unto the wooden gates. With a mighty kick, he strikes open the golden portals. From within the great subterranean palace echoes a chorus of disquieted roars. When Red Sun bursts forth once more, the phantom soldiery shall surely swarm out in their entirety. I must needs prepare a fitting tribute for their arrival. I summon forth the Arm of Shadows. The Shadow Arm begins to cast cylinders of liquefied gas from within the void realm. They tumble and roll down into the hollow. 10, 30, 50, 80. The entirety of the basin is soon shrouded in a pale mist. I cast therein several casks of gasoline and firecrackers gathered from the pyrotechnic merchant. The thunder of countless iron hooves doth sound to suffusion. Yet just as I release a breath of respite, a missive arrives from Red Sun. The endeavor hath failed. Come to mine aid. The war cries of 1,000 spectral hosts and steeds erupt from the subterranean palace. A ragged figure, mounted upon a skeletal steed of the underworld, charges forth from the wooden gates. 'Tis Red Sun. Leap high and avoid the pit. Red Sun snaps the reins, and the infernal steed leaps high into the air. A great legion, clad in decaying and rusted armor, comes pouring from the wooden gates. Wielding long halberds, hundreds of footmen storm into the hollow, churning the white mists. clad in armor.
A cavalryman, leading a dozen riders, leaps into the void. Strike now! I pull the trigger of the Bloodlord's call, firing unto the hollow.
With mine other arm,
I cast the lit fire striker into the trench.
a heaven-piercing detonation. 4 core canisters of liquid gas.
Did the oil upon their torsos not detonate? The phantom soldiers within the hollow are rendered unto a mist of flesh and blood. A flaming canister of gas is hurled forth. To have fled so far, yet still be struck.
Such wretched misfortune. A most fearsome explosion.
What passeth upon the rearward mountain? I have at last cast off his phantom. Disciples of Yuinshin, the progress of our labors is nigh complete.
Onward, great master. I gaze upon the ledger of quests.
I behold the visage of red sun. It gloweth still. He hath not perished.
My spiritual essence is greatly depleted. Should I invoke the art of reversal? Now?
'Tis I who shall fall into a swoon.
I grip the Bloodlord's call tightly.
Igniting my torch of light, I stride swiftly into the general's tomb.
The plum of light sweeps across the murals.
Exquisite
And grand.
The earth is strewn with foul black blood.
Fanned soldiers, cloven in twain or charred black, lie scattered about.
Since Red Sun did enter here,
He hath truly endured a most vicious battle.
the light suddenly falls upon a figure clad in the fire armor of Cyan Rock. A general, wielding a coiling dragon spear, seated upon a dais of stone.
He moveth not. Beneath his helm,
2 clusters of sorrowful green flame burn brightly. Still, he moveth not.
For what doth he wait?
a low and heavy sigh
Echoeth, as if from the very depths of the earth. The beam of light striketh the form of General Shao.
Yet another missive appeareth within our shared converse. Young Master Zhao spake truly.
Senior Sister Honi, 八点你吕未浪头.
General Shao shall be resurrected.
The general's visage doth turn ever so slightly, tracking my very movements. His gaze is fixed upon me.
I draw a deep and heavy breath, drawing forth a palm thunder talisman from my spatial ring. I do cut mine own palm.
Crimson blood doth soak the parchment, as the brilliance of lightning gathereth within my hand.
Of a sudden, the general riseth to his feet.
A thunderous roar.
The entirety of this subterranean palace doth tremble.
He hafteth his coiling dragon spear, and directeth its deadly point unto me.
Those 20 orbs of spectral green flame swell with demonic might, as though they fain would burst forth in fury.
He cometh.
The general parteth his jaws, unleashing a maddened, unearthly laughter. Driven back by the surging gale, I stumble many paces ere crashing against the stone wall. I raise my hand, and the palm thunder blasteth forth. The lightning striketh the azure flame cuirass upon the general's breast,
Bursting into a shower of fiery sparks.
the general doth but sway.
He casted his gaze downward upon the scorch mark left upon his armor.
Then, slowly doth he lift his head, to lay his eyes upon me once more.
Mine own pupils contract in sudden dread.
Frantically, I make my retreat, whilst drawing forth talisman upon talisman from my spatial ring. I unleash the palm thunder in ceaseless succession.
The fulminations detonate upon the general's form.
Rending breach after breach upon his azure flame cuirass. Yet, his march ceaseth not.
His long spear sweepeth forth.
I cast myself unto the earth. The wicked blade glideth past, grazing my very crown, and severing a lock of mine hair.
Mortal strikes avail me not.
Nor doth the art of thunder breach his defenses. How then shall this foe be vanquished? The general turneth, advancing upon a pillar of stone. He thrusteth his spear, piercing the stony column straight through. Shattered stone doth scatter in all directions. I tumble forth from the yonder side. A blade of peach wood doth appear within my grasp. Hiding my tongue's tip, I spit forth a draught of blood. Thus spake the disciples of Awanishin. This blade hath the power to slay demons and fell sorcery. 'Tis a wager I must take. The general draweth his long spear, and thrusteth at me once more. I retreat not, turning aside. I let the spear's point pass me by. With both hands upon the hilt, I bring the blade down fiercely upon the general's arm. The peachwood blade striketh the chink within his armor of cerulean rock and fire. Hiss! Black smoke doth billow from the wound. The general unleashed a howl of agony. It avails. Yet the general's counterstrike is swifter than mine own. His other arm swingeth, an iron fist crashing upon my breast. My body is violently cast away. The spell of reversal doth invoke itself. The shattered ribs within my breast do mend with great haste. I fall upon one knee, gasping for breath. My spiritual essence doth swiftly deplete. The spell of reversal demandeth too great a toll. 2 more such uses, and I shall fall into a swoon. The general tracketh his long spear,
advancing upon me once more. I grit my teeth. From my spatial ring, I draw forth the final canister of fiery vapors.
I twist open its seal and roll it toward the general.
The general thrust of his spear, piercing the vessel through.
At that very instant, I cast forth a thunderbolt from my palm.
Flames do erupt upon the general's form. The armor of cerulean rock and fire is set ablaze.
The general is entirely consumed, becoming a man of fire.
He struggleth and roareth amidst the inferno. His long spear swingeth wildly, bringing down half a wall in ruin. Seizing the moment, I rush toward the depths of the subterranean palace.
Where leath the focal node of shadows?
In the deepest sanctum of the palace stands a colossal stele of black stone.
The steel is etched entirely with crimson runes.
To this one,
I charge toward the stone stele.
in my palms, I summon all the thunderbolts that yet remain unto me.
I detonate them all in a singular blast. The lightning doth strike upon the stone stele. The runes flicker and shatter asunder. Black smoke poureth forth in frenzied torrents. Behind me, the general doth let loose a roar of utter despair and lunges toward me.
I draw forth explosive charges from my spatial ring and cast them upon the stele.
The stone stele bursts asunder. The subterranean palace doth begin to collapse. The system doth proclaim Campus Anomaly Quest completion at 100%. I turn upon my heel and flee. Behind me, the general's form is crumbling into ruin. His ethereal, fiery armor doth peel away, piece by piece. He reacheth out his hand unto me, and then turneth into naught but a mound of ash. I burst forth from the collapsing ruins and fall into the earth, gasping for breath at the edge of the hollow. Afar off, Honli hath awakened upon the ground, and doth crawl hither with great toil. Thou?
Hast thou vanquished the general's tomb?
Thou, a mere level 2, has blown the general's tomb to bits. My reversal skill is invoked. Hungry severed left arm doth begin to mend. The wound doth swiftly bind and scab. Grimri meeketh upon you in utter astonishment. This skill of thine, I told thee, it may be used but once. Here I close mine eyes. I gaze toward the campus grounds and behold the black flock of crows in the heavens, dissipating into naught.
Within the fellowship's missives, the general's tomb node hath been destroyed.
Who hath wrought this? The elder maiden Honi speaketh, saying she senseth, Sayo hath vanished. She speaketh also of treating me to a feast, in gratitude for turning him unto our cause. Hold! What meaneth the spirit offering a feast? Alas, the feast she speaks of, would it not be sacrificial offerings? I open mine eyes to find myself resting beneath a great tree.
Hungry seated nearby.
Wiping the fissures upon his knightly armor with a cloth. The pale light of dawn doth break upon the horizon. I awoke and struggled to sit upright. The trial has attended. It is finished. Thou hast lain senseless for 3 hours' time. Thou hast spared my life. This debt of gratitude I shall engrave upon my heart. I clasped his hand and was drawn to my feet. Afar, the mists that shroud the academy grounds do scatter.
A missive in our fellowship scroll doth appear. The Uintisan formation.
The formation hath been restored. The fell humors within the academy do fade with haste. Lay the stout. The spectral fowls upon the training grounds have vanished utterly. Chibaro. The realm within the looking glass hath likewise stabilized. Lord Chao. Lady Hongi hath declared she goeth to enter the cycle of rebirth. She baddeth me convey her gratitude unto you all. Furthermore, ere she departed, she did consume my portion of the sacrificial offerings. I have hungered this entire night. Thus, our fellowship of 6 did assemble within the great hall of instruction. The Lord yet wore the visage of a fiend upon his face, yet his raiments were besmirched with ash, and a lock of his hair lay singed. In his grasp, he held the remains of a half-eaten apple. Hast thou been gnawed upon by a phantom? Lady Hungi, ere her rebirth, left naught but sacrificial offerings, apples, steamed loaves, and roasted fowl, cold as the grave. And thou didst truly partake of them? She spake thus, if thou dost not eat, I shall not pass into the next life. What recourse had I? The company stood in silence for a fleeting moment. Then, as one, they turned their faces away, their shoulders quivering in suppressed mirth. Koingri did utter a cough, breaking the delicate silence. A heavenly prompt doth manifest. The High Academy Phantom trial is fulfilled. Bounties bestowed. 300 measures of trial experience. 1 coffer of random virtue. 500 coins of purification. Additional bounty. An appraisal of flawless triumph. The entire fellowship receiveth an extra 100 coins of purification. 6 souls have conquered a trial meant for 10. A flawless triumph.
Much thanks is owed to the one upon the high mountain. Yet who among us hath brought ruin to the general's tomb?
Was but good fortune that the Red Sun continent didst first cripple the general. I did but reap the spoils of their labor. The quest is fulfilled. It is time. We part ways. The 6 souls stand upon the training grounds. The borders of this realm do gleam with light. Red Sun doth hold the leash of his newly summoned hellhound.
Shouldst thou ever seek a fellowship in the days to come,
Now mayest send word unto me. I accept his token of calling.
Oho, the great master extendeth an invitation of his own accord.
A rare sight indeed. Hold thy tongue. Young Master Chow draweth near. The 9 tripods would welcome thee as well.
Our provisions are bountiful, with lodging and warm sustenance. Nay, not the cold offerings given unto the dead.
I shall give it thought.
Little brother, thine elder sister doth welcome thee too.
There is no need. Wilt thou truly not reconsider?
is the act of retreating a half-pace truly in earnest?
The disciple of the profound heaven sect approacheth and clappeth my shoulder. May fate unite us once more. I cast my gaze upon my phone. Scarcely 10 minutes have slipped away. The passage of time within the scripted quest doth fly vastly different from the mortal realm. 3 hours within, yet but 8 minutes have passed without. I inspect my Volver satchel. The newly bestowed focus armor and academy longsword lie quiet and still within.
Yet the oil and gas I brought forth are entirely spent.
A wave of lingering dread gusheth forth. The evolution trial is perilous indeed. Had I not made such thorough preparations, I would truly have perished within its depths.
明天意，明天意。I am here. Cease thy shouting.
Cannot a man answer nature's call in peace? With such a thunderous voice, fearest thou not the wrath and blows of those from other chambers? Bu Cha Dao dash in into the washroom, striking the door with a heavy clamor. I pull the door open, but a crack. I make a gesture of silence and step out. I am famished. Let us sneak beyond the walls and partake of roasted meats. We exchange a glance and break into merry laughter.
冰小烤桌有附土 Karki. Pass at the button.
A black carriage of steel by the wayside doth spring to light. Whence didst thou learn to command such a vessel? Pray, enter. I have yet to bear thee upon a spirited ride. This vessel is stationed here, that I might respond to sudden perils at a moment's notice.
In ordinary times, it remaineth unused.
I take my seat beside the driver's helm. We journeyed forth in absolute silence. After the passage of a third of an hour, the carriage cometh to a halt before the gates of a grand bathhouse.
Uncle, go on.
Prepare the private chamber bearing the mark of 4 sevens, and bid Master Song craft 2 dishes for our feasting.
We have but newly concluded our evening studies. We are famished. Thus we twain do enter the chamber. The great doors are drawn shut.
The bathing pool, measuring 3 paces by 2, is presently drawing its waters. The hot mists do rise and billow.
Con Chao Kao lifteth his arm,
And the timepiece upon his wrist doth briefly gleam.
Set thy heart at ease. This timepiece upon my wrist doth possess an instrument to detect hidden machinations. This domain is as my own household. There shall be no peril whatsoever.
I was upon the very cusp of speech
When a figure clothed in crimson doth drift forth from the very being of Bo Shou Chao.
crimson-clad senior maiden suspendeth in the mid-air, and mine eyes do widen in marvel.
Heavens above, thou hast truly brought her forth.
What cause is there for such wondrous alarm?
Compared unto thy slaying of the Ghost King Shou, this deed of mine is but a trifling matter. I have begged one to emerge to keep the watch, lest our words fall upon the ears of eavesdroppers. Greetings unto thee, senior maiden Shen. Chan Wenyu's fair countenance doth flush red. There is no need for such excessive courtesy. Upon our journey, he hath already spoken of the bond you share. Pray, take thy leisure with the bath. I shall wander by the threshold to keep guard. How dost thou intend to deal with her? This is a precious artifact I claimed upon my previous quest. It possesseth the power to house ethereal forms and nourish their divine spirits. Once our parley have concluded, I shall pen a petition unto the Bureau of Singular Affairs. In times past, my admiration was reserved solely for Suzian and Nin Taijie.
Yet now, thou hast been added unto the ranks of those I esteem.
Oh, Gu Qiao Chao, Bing Ting Yi, I bing ye halt. Stay thy steps, I say. Flee not. Alas, alas, when did such a matter come to pass? How is it that I was kept in ignorance, and I know naught of thine own affairs? Skdother first, when wert thou chosen? To rule on the summer respite of the prior scholastic term. Did I not journey with my esteemed parents for a sojourn? The expedition unto Mount Chaobai.
The time thou didst steal into the mountains seeking the great bronze gates?
Yea, 'twas within those very peaks that I was chosen. Upon mine emergence, I was inducted into the ranks of the 9 tripled quadrants. It hath taken nigh half a year merely to ascend unto the 4th rank. Such progress is exceedingly sluggish, is it not? Our sovereign order requireth strict sanction for every quest we undertake. The Stratagem Council must weigh the perils and conduct rigorous instruction. The steering of iron steeds, marksmanship, martial doctrines, and battlefield mending. Dost thou now speak on behalf of the 9 tripod cauldrons, or for thyself? Thou dost not wish for me to act as their emissary?
At the very least, not at this present hour.
Then I shall represent none but myself. Very well.
Thereupon, I recounted mine encounter with Sulua and his vanquishment.
How Leng Bai Daido did forge the realm of trial, and the entirety of our plot to slay Xiao was spoken of.
I was in mortal dread, lest thou be drawn into this maelstrom. Despite 1,000 precautions, I failed to shield thee. Yet, thy ferocity hath proven great, indeed, to wield such mundane relics of daily life, and therewith slay a transcendent being. Alas, had I been granted more time to prepare, I could have forged a grand Gatling cannon from handheld pyrotechnics and explosive charges.
Bin Sakta clutched his brow and cried, "See,
If thou speakest further, I shall surely alter my resolve." I let forth a laugh. Master the arts of numbers, natural philosophy, and one need fear not. Whilst traversing the heavens and earth, twain fell into a fleeting silence, a lesser elixir of cellular invigoration, forged by the 9 cauldrons. It possesseth the power to mend wounds and grant a fleeting surge of vigor. Keep it for thine own use, O mighty benefactor. Young Master Go is magnanimous indeed, yet employ it with prudence. Each veil beareth a unique cipher. Should they find their way to the shadowy bazaars, my ruin— Rest that tongue and bathe in peace. The spoils of my quest are yet to be reckoned. I didst open the sanctum of purification to behold the bounties of my undertaking. The ethereal voice of the decree whispered in mine ear. The endeavor is fulfilled. The reckoning of thy spoils commenceth. Coins of purification, 530, magnified by 240%, yielding 1,200. Essence of experience, 330, similarly magnified, yielding 720. A coffer of rare and random providence, awarded for the solitary vanquishing of the phantom monarch. Thou hast a chance to inherit the exclusive golden arts of Lord Xiao, spoils of the divergent path. The art of shadow slaughter is thereby exalted to the form of umbral assassination. The utmost sum of obial appendages at the first echelon is expanded unto 4. The dominion of thy will is extended unto 5 and 20 paces. Illusions fleeted before mine eyes. Like a carousel of shadows, I concealed myself amidst the boughs of the arbo, commanding the arbor attendage to cast vessels of volatile vapor into the hollow. Whilst parleying with Shawa at the nexus of the nether vein, the pomeral appendage stealthily adhered to his palm. The shadow limbs clutched the half-blade of obsidian and gold, and pierced the very heart of Yaho, the spectral arm, wielding the peachwood blade of heavenly tribulation, hooing madly at the nether vein. Wherefore does it feel somewhat bereft of honor? Personal judgment, supreme. Current essence overfloweth. Wilt thou ascend? I wield the tablet of ascension to proceed, renewing the moniker, the mirror of true sight. Echelon the 8th. Essence overflowing. Might 7. Alacrity 7. Constitution 7. Vigor 7. Unbound attributes available for bestowal 13. Coins of purification available 1,300. Mine countenance was awash with sudden— In less than 3 suns passing, I have claimed 8 artifacts of transcendent make. I rubbed my palms together, bracing myself to unseal the coffer. The coffer yielded its choices. A treasure chest of rare and exclusive gold, the rare and bounden martial art, the iron-forged form of the 13 grand protectors, blood cores of uncounted measure, the art of lunar respiration, the secret arts of the palace alchemist, the overlord spear, and the blood-forged battle saber. Shall the seal be broken? I drew a sharp, frigid breath. An ancient fiend from the era of the 5 tribes' chaos to possess mastery over such a multitude of mystic arts. I willed the seal to yield. A blinding white luminescence swept across the scrolls of martial arts. The art of lunar respiration. The art of lunar respiration. A rare, it draweth upon the quintessence of the sun and moon, thereby heightening the restoration of one's vigor and corporeal form. Its potency is rendered exceedingly vast beneath the cloak of night. Annotation. Strive diligently to imbibe the lunar essence. Thou possesseth the latent seed to become a grand archvine. Yet another art of restoration. What bounty hast thou drawn? What bounty hast thou drawn? And thou? What treasures hast thou claimed? This art harbors a slight imperfection. It doth require the presence of water. Yet, I shall merely stow several crates of spring water within my satchel. When battle is joined, I need only cast it forth, and shards of ice shall fly forth like bolts from a repeating ballista. What manner of coffer didst thou unseal? A standard coffer of quest's fulfillment, of course. To unseal mystic arts and martial skills
Requires not but a pair of hands.
To compare one man to another is to invite despair. To compare one treasure to another is to deem one worthy only of the mind. What hast thou unsealed? Speak swiftly. I revealed the tablet of my martial arts.
并巧朝我伸着欲火塔，必复欲挖的秀。
Strive diligently to imbibe the lunar essence.
Thou possesseth the latent seed to become a grand archfiend. The art I unsealed prior was likewise of a restorative nature. Should this persist, I shall be reduced to a mere custodian of healing.
Thou must not look down upon any martial art.
Within our 9-tripod sect, there resides an exalted master,
Who in the beginning could command naught but a fly to rest upon his palm.
or franked a mosquito to draw blood,
In time, his mosquitoes possess the power to draw forth the very marrow of the brain.
and his deadly hornets darkened the heavens and blanketed the earth, whilst his flies bore small spheres of thunderous ruin. The most formidable art of an awakened one
Is that which demandeth no toll upon one's spirit.
Such arts may be woven ceaselessly, subtly fortifying a chosen path.
Thou wouldst do well to cultivate it deeply.
Perchance, this moon-gliding breath might yet evolve into a supreme art of respiration.
To preserve one's vital essence amidst the fray doth seem of some merit. In truth, it hath ever been so. Furthermore, thou hast claimed the Ghost King's blood-soaked blade and the general's raiment. What practitioner of the third realm boasteth such wondrous fortune? Such treasures were won at the peril of mine own life. Yet upon that arrival, thou unharnessed blinding celestial thunder and weapons of searing heat. A display of opulence far surpassing mine own hurling of alchemical gas vessels.
The twain thus exchanged boastful jests for a time. Ere long, the master of the kitchens presented several grand and hearty delicacies.
Following a magnificent feast of gluttony and deep draughts of wine,
The twain reclined upon the heated stones, patting their swollen bellies in contentment. Following this perilous trial, art thou not required to render an account unto the order? Verily, I must,
to declare the provisions spent and surrender the wondrous artifacts encountered,
as well as to divine and record knowledge of other awakened ones. Had my scrying visions not unveiled thy presence,
I would even now reside within the high sanctum.
hearken now, for this trial is yet unfinished.
The maiden Shen Wanyu
Doth speak.
that the true architect of these shadows is not the maddened disciple.
Nay, it is a woman
who, perchance, conceals herself within the very walls of our academy.
What is the measure of her martial prowess?
Somewhat lesser than that of Lord Xiaohou. Yet she hath conjured forth 4 or 5 corrupted souls. The awakened cultivate their might with frightening haste.
Shouldst thou cross her path, send word to me with utmost swiftness.
Face not this pair alone.
I comprehend. Is it not so that awakened ones may forge a spirit link of fellowship?
Let me offer thee such a pact.
And thereafter I shall bestow upon thee the bounty, one,
Yielding unto thee the golden chalice of wine we retrieved therein.
I pray thee, convert a portion thereof into hard coin for me.
It is fashioned of purest gold.
Anon, I shall remit 300,000 pieces to thee, lest thou bear any loss.
Moreover, doth thy purse even hold such vast wealth at this present hour?
These funds shall not be drawn from mine own coffers.
Declare its worth by the measure of its scholarly merit.
Whatsoever exceeds that sum, I shall keep as a trifling allowance for my—
Should the sum fall short, I shall render unto thee the remainder.
The twain took their rest, tarrying until the 4th hour past midnight, scaling the walls and breaching the casement to return unto our sleeping quarters. All the lingering warmth of the perfumed taper yet remains.
香枪养，慎懂语，是累的，知足了。莫小吵违抗的怕的靠，调言不是傻影迷耳。
I am bound to render a full accounting of our labors now that the quest is fulfilled.
Seek thou thy slumber first. I shall but close mine eyes.
The tidings born of this single night are wondrous heavy to comprehend.
Just as I made ready to drift into the realm of dreams, a sudden chime sounded, a herald from the palace of purification.
I ventured within to divine the secret missive sent by the disciple of his Cintron. Brother disciple,
Hast thou laid claim to the bounties bestowed for the fulfillment of our quest? I gave reply, Venerable Taoist, in the preceding trial,
Thou hast my profoundest gratitude. Dost thou seek my counsel?
by the immeasurable heavenly venerable, 'tis but a trifling deed, unworthy to be spoken of. Pay it no heed, worthy brother. I would fain bid thee join me to undertake a fated quest.
I have but newly ascended to the exalted ranks of the evolved.
Yet my spirit remains uneasy. Thy might is great, and thy steadfastness well proven.
He sent forth an ethereal vision of a curious relic, the eyeball of the Fugan spring, afflicted with spiritual nearsighted, the twin pair of singular beings from the threshold.
These ocular orbs may be sundered, one from the other,
serving as the very keys which shall unlock this fated quest.
Should 15 suns pass without their employment, their spiritual essence shall utterly wither. Doubts began to stir within the depths of my heart.
Were he to claim one for his own use,
the second might be bartered for a kingly sum of gold.
Venerable Taoist, thou couldst well utilize one orb for thine own self,
and offer the other upon the merchant's block.
Even so, it is my deepest wish to entreat thee to join my side.
Upon successfully venturing into the quest, only then shalt thou transfer unto me 500 Jinhua coin.
It is evident that my act of dispensing coin in the realm of survival have garnered a certain measure of trust. Thus, let it be settled for the nuns. Should any unforeseen occurrence arise within 10 days' time, I pray thee,
Make it known. I shall now set my hand to preparations for the Hound of Fujian, a beast of great terror from the mythos of Cthulhu, otherwise known as the Guardian of the Ingo, the realm of the Cthulhu order.
Doth lie roughly within the Europe of the dawning industrial age.
The peril is most grievous. Creatures on the brink of madness, and even foul deities do dwell therein.
The Victorian epoch? I must needs prepare conveyances for travel and elixirs to ward against the rat plague.
Think he... I turned my head, and Wei Lele stood at the threshold. In her hands, she bore not only the borrowed tomes of study, but also a small paper sack of exquisitely wrapped sweetmeats. I approached the threshold. Junior maiden, senior scholar, I give thee thanks for thy notes of study. Here is but a trifling token of my regard. I entreat thee, do not refuse it. Very well. I accept the junior maiden's gracious intent with thanks. My smile was courteous and unblemished, yet kept a measured distance. Having accepted the sweetmeats, our commerce in this matter is concluded. I turned upon my heel and took my leave. Wei Lele seemed desirous to speak further words.
Le, hast thou come to return the tomes?
Greetings unto thee, Master Zhou. Qian Yi. When thou hast a moment's respite between lectures, impart some tutelage in the chemical sciences unto Wei Lele.
'Tis a fitting endeavor.
For thee, it shall serve to refresh thy known wisdom. What of this recent trial of examination? The calculations of enthalpy and the equations of thorough chemistry were not without flaw. Thou hast mastered the teachings of the third year most admirably.
Do lend thy guidance to the maiden who hath newly transferred to her ranks.
'Tis a boon that serves a twofold purpose.
Yes, master.
Ling Tingyi is indeed my most prized disciple. Methinks thou dost possess great potential as well. I offer my thanks, Master Zhou.
Taking the parchment of examination from Master Zhou,
I made my return to the Hall of Study. By the gods, what formidable prowess.
Verily, a scholar of high standing is of a different breed. Courting a maiden by imperial decree. Art thou?
The hour of the midday respite, I opened my device to procure sundry provisions from the ethereal market.
Purgative of the conduits.
For what purpose dost thou acquire such a vast bounty?
The conduit purgative is verily a potent lie, was imparted to us during the lectures of alchemy.
When potent lie meeteth the dust of aluminum, the ensuing reaction may instantly reach a heat of 3,000 degrees.
The sanitizing fluid of 84, the privy cleansing spirit and rods of luminescence.
An instrument for spraying banes upon the harvest.
A signal caster.
Art thou intent on opening a merchant stall?
Amassing provisions for the 11th day of the 11th moon.
Thy powers is unmatched. Ah, indeed. Doth thy family's enterprise
not in light bursts of fire bloom at every turning of the year?
Procure a measure of them on my behalf. Draw the coin from my allotted sum. Dost thou require raiments to ward against alchemical perils? Our family's manufactory possesseth them readily fashioned, complete with masks to ward off noxious humors.
Even so, one cannot don a mask for every mandated quest.
Pray acquaint thyself with the dark sorcery of visage swapping from the southern lands. Thou speakest of the art of painting one's face? Clever indeed. Affix these adornments upon thyself.
Add a measure of foundational elixir and a mist of binding.
Work, but a trifling effort.
And I vow, no soul shall divine thy true identity.
I have transmitted the scrolls of instruction. Seek them out upon the ethereal networks of society.
There be an abundance of fair maidens who impart such craft.
Shouldst thou fail to grasp the painting in thy early days, simply affix these items.
Then procure pigments for the flesh, and paint thy visage in myriad hues.
But 15 days remain ere we embark upon the dual quest.
When that hour arrives, there shall verily be no means to shroud our faces.
Indeed, I must earnestly master this particular arcane art.
Nay, 'tis not so. It concerneth the comet.
Something that...
Did not the scholars of the heavens foretell the path of that lesser wandering star? It shall but linger within the outer spheres, yea, nearly 700 leagues distant from the path of the moon. It shall by no means strike our earthly realm. It hath naught to do with this matter.
Within the inner sanctum of the 9 cultrons,
we already make preparations
and drill for sudden calamities.
Though this celestial wanderer
shall bring forth no great tidal waves, nor ruin upon the earth.
It may well invoke a multitude of arcane phenomena.
What manner of calamity might it bring forth?
Perchance a colossal trial of tribulation shall be bestowed upon all who walk the path of ascension at once. Or perchance it shall trigger disasters upon the mortal realm, such as a great host of otherworldly beasts invading our waking world. When, pray tell, shall this comet descend upon our realm? Methinks it shall be some months yet. The heralds do but slowly accustom the populace, that they might accept it. The Palace of Ascension can no longer be shrouded in secrecy. If Saket bringeth no catastrophe, all shall be well.
Yet, should it descend upon the whole of the earthly realm,
the unnatural horrors could by no means be suppressed. Hasten thy ascension and prepare thyself well. Whither doth thou go?
The appointed hour is upon us. Whilst Chen Wenqi hath been spirited away by the order for inquisition and reformation, I must make haste to the atelier to seek my dear maiden Su. Though Sen Wanyu did not end her days in the despair of unrequited love, is it truly fitting for thee to act with such base unfaithfulness? We share but a pure bond of master and vessel.
Speak no such folly.
He departed, and I let forth a heavy sigh. There is far too much arcane wisdom I must needs acquire of late. Fortunately, once one's vigor hath reached the 10th measure, one may toil with scarcely any need for slumber.
When the evening teachings of the 5th day had concluded,
Gum Shaichao and I departed the academy, walking arm in arm. Setting aside the cost of those provisions thou bade me procure, there remaineth yet 267,000. I have rounded the sum to make it whole for thee. Is a total of 27 bundles. Pray, counted thyself.
Were it not for thy sake,
I scarce would have exchanged such a vast bounty of coin. In times past, spending such wealth stirred not within me.
Yet, transmuting it into sustenance, it doth weigh heavy upon mine hands.
My utmost thanks unto thee.
Thou hast toiled greatly in these recent days. Come, let us away. Tonight, I shall feast thee with a grand banquet.
Hitherto, thou hast always been the host. This day, I shall gladly empty my purse.
Nay, let it be.
Is truly an ill-timed misfortune. I must needs report to the grand headquarters ere long.
Elsewise, wherefore dost thou think my family's coachman hath not appeared?
By us pressing matters to attend, the Shacha didst reply directly, through the secret discourse of the Palace of Evolution. The adversary is an evolver.
Erbtao certain.
Yea, he must needs be a seasoned veteran, a vagabond rogue, striking solely at the wealthy and renowned figures of the realm, plundering both wealth and virtue. I held my peace for a fleeting moment. I bid thee, be wary.
Be at ease, for I am of the 9 tripods.
Let me first escort thee back to thy chambers.
brink Cao Cao carriage departed afar. 非请以武注释给。
He mounted his electric steed and made for the courier station. He conversed upon his device whilst he rode.
林青一的龟头扑靠搁在死死地，得呕死不呕死。
Each quest doth force them to tread the narrow precipice, twist life and death. Even in triumph, they often merge bearing grievous wounds, to torment of myriad afflictions and bodily harm, compounded by the spiritual scars of shattered affections.
Doth slowly twist the very minds of certain men.
Some deem themselves blessed by a transcendent destiny, whilst others entirely unleash their most primal natures. Hail, Brother Li.
I beseech thee, grant me leave from this eve's courier duties.
Yea, urgent matters at mine homestead demand my presence.
Sister Shu, 妻子爱杨林，
I shall not be able to attend the shop this night.
Fret not. I shall make my way there on the morrow.
Young Lin, thou hast been absent from thy labors of late. Thy elder sister hath grown dark shadows beneath her eyes from such weary toil.
What aileth thee, sister? Hast thou opened a new establishment?
What speakest thou of new establishments?
thy sister is near ruined by grievous losses of late,
A great multitude of wares have vanished, and no clue can be found to unravel this mystery.
the wares upon the shelves are gone, vanished like Pinking's satchel. How much has been lost?
Wares amounting to tens of thousands in coin. Yestereve, I went to inspect the inventory and discovered the shelves were well nigh barren. Hast thou alerted the constabulary? Yea, I have. Even under the constant vigil of the watchful wards, the wares of several shops were plundered in unbroken succession. To bear them away in sacks would require many a wagon. How could it be that not a single trace was left behind? Sister, I pray thee, calm thy spirit.
I shall make haste to the shop anon.
Li Qingyi, bearing 2 great parcels of dispatches, strode with the swiftness of the wind.
He ascended to the 6th floor and threw open his chamber door. Drawing upon the supreme perception granted by his prowess, he surveyed the dwelling for anomalies. Finding all secure, the homestead is undisturbed. He cast himself heavily into the ancient settee and casually tossed the 2 great parcels into a spatial ring. Massaging his brow, he fell into deep contemplation. If the adversary be truly an evolver, or perchance an accomplice of the ruthless blade, it were best to draw back my hand. The net must be drawn, sooner or later. He hath but newly departed upon his quest. I wish not to distract his mind for the nonce. It seemeth I must truly seek out a merchant of illicit tokens to purchase a batch of shadow alices for mine own use. Let us first divine the truth from the watchful wards. There shall be no need to purchase dispatches. If perchance a revelation is brought to light, let us speak of it when young Chao hath fulfilled his quest. Ding Kenny, with accustomed ease, approached the threshold of chamber 27. He struck the door, and Xu Rong did open it unto him. Elder sister,
Wherefore didst thou not inform me sooner of a matter of such grave import?
thy primary duty remaineth thy scholastic pursuits. To summon thee from the academy for such an affair is uncertain thou couldst even render aid.
Elder sister, cease thy toils this instant. I shall keep vigil over the watchful wards.
Prithee, go and seek thy rest.
Yao Lin, come and lend that eyes to thy sister.
I have perceived a matter most awry.
有用该电灵前一出的抗体天斩了，无尽的爬路。令 Tanny did seat himself above the principal chair before the destroying screen.
Shou Yugrong stood steadfast at his flank, one hand resting upon the table, whilst the other manipulated the instrument to command the sights.
危情呀，告得散。
The faint smoke of cocoa that lingered upon her garments.
He leaned his form backward a fraction, lest their flesh should meet.
Within the visions of the watchful wards, a man draped in a cloak of sable, donning a crimson cap, crossed the threshold of the provisions merchant. He did select various elixirs,
Crisp noodles and spiced strips, ferrying sweet ices and morsels time and again to the merchant's counter.
Then, offering the cipher to settle his toll, he bagged his spoils and departed the market.
林天一不问那次的英台人，也比和麻的是。
He magnified the vision, slowing the passage of images to scrutinize the minutiae.
Lo, several shadowy silhouettes did manifest in the periphery.
Some lurked within the dwelling towers, whilst others hid in the subterranean depths. Yet there remained one humanoid apparition that prowled within the merchant's halls, one possessing the cunning to pilfer goods using a satchel. 'Tis undoubtedly a non-human evolver. The patrons within the market commenced to settle their dues.
I shall command the grand doors via my handheld artifact to return to their natural state.
The patron taketh his leave.
The gull followeth closely behind him, matching him stride for stride. I did mount my steed of iron and gave swift chase, journeying all the way along the western coastal path until we arrived at a forsaken harbor dock. A myriad of gulls did take to the lower skies, circling about the towering courteous gull of 2 meters. The courteous gull did sweep its wings, and a great bounty of sustenance scattered upon the earth. The first phase of the quest is fulfilled. The second phase of the quest hath commenced, a trial of confrontation. I did skillfully conceal my handheld artifact. As I repaired to make my retreat, the gull, with deliberate grace, did stow its belongings into its satchel and strode with a waddling gait toward the pitch-black ocean bluff. Its veil of invisibility had been cast aside. I did trail it softly through the shadows. After a march of 20 minutes, we arrived at a low shore, amidst the thickets, beneath the moonlight of late autumn. The summit was strewn with a myriad of discarded wrappers. A fully grown gull alighted upon my shoulder without a whisper. I did gently attempt to shoo the beast, yet the gull took to the air, and without forewarning, struck at mine eyes and, "Thou accursed, foul, foul!" I reached forth to strike it down, yet I missed my mark, and piercing cries of the gulls did echo all around. I swiftly donned the Northmire cloak. My presence is laid bare. Sharp beaks did tear at my flesh with frenzied wrath. Shielding my visage, I tumbled to the earth in disgrace and loosed shot after shot from my weapon as a tempest of iron pellets blanketed the heavens. The stricken winged thieves fell from the sky like torrential rain. Yet the greatest peril lay not with this flock of thieves. Was that colossal beast? Alas, a fierce gale howleth at my back. A stout avian beak struck my nape like unto an iron quill. Durf Mel, the cloak and hood of North Mald, didst ward off this blow. Yet the sheer might thereof cast me violently unto the earth. 'Tis the clash of opposing elements. The novice's tome hath ever decreed to fortify strength in the beginning, agility and vigor of body, to not without profound reason. Amidst such bleak and desperate adversity, I began to heave deep breaths, drawing in the lunar essence. The silver tide of the moon didst course betwixt my lips and nose. Behind his back, 4 arms of shadow didst manifest from the void. The beastly instinct of the great avian bodied to take flight into the heavens. I didst roll over and raise myself up. The 4 arms of shadow stood as sentinels at my back. I was but a hair's breadth from death. With trembling hands, I drew forth a lesser elixir of vitality and poured it down my throat. O human ascendant, wherefore dost thou provoke me? I marvel at but one thing. Ere thou becamest an ascendant, how didst thou slay a man? Thou foolish ascendant. A foolish man doth but serve as thy sustenance. A feeble simpleton, not but prey. The gull is a creature that feasteth upon carrion. It shall strike at the ailing leviathan and the feeble seals of the sea. The feeble in their gaze, all that is frail is but fodder. There is naught to be said. And to such a beast, I grasped my recording crystal in my left hand to capture the deed, and swiftly closed the distance betwixt us, discharging my firearm with an arm of shadow. Yet, even as I charged forth, a crimson sigil of a soaring avian didst manifest within its left eye.
An innate spell. Geese.
Absolute command was invoked. My mortal frame grew stiff as stone. I yearned to move, yet my flesh wouldst not hearken to my will. Was not fear, was not paralysis. Thou hast been commanded. Human, lay down thine arms.
my hand unclasped, heedless of my will. The Blood Lord's call. Four shadowy arms dissipated as one. My armaments fell, one after the other. What manner of sorcery is this? To seize dominion, or my very flesh, O evolved of mankind. Thou art so feeble. Mere sustenance. Which eye shall I scorch first? A great crimson light blazed forth. Methought my very consciousness was being devoured. The ring of black salt burned furiously within my pouch. Boy, fix thy gaze upon its eyes, and blink not. He has dominion over the mind. Bound not by the laws of the physical realm. I fiercely thrust forth the black gold half-blade, sliding my thumb across the mechanism of the hilt. Absolute command. I yield not my will to a foul bird such as thee. I fiercely drew the black heart half-blade, sliding my thumb across the hilt's mechanism once more. I swung the blade in a wide arc. My quarry was not Uhuang, but the palm of mine own left hand. Oh, the crimson blood splattered. The searing agony utterly shattered its mental dominion. Blood dripped from my left hand as I stood tall once more, my right grasping the blade. My mortal frame. The fallen armaments were gathered anew by the shadow arms. What other arts dost thou possess? Unleash them all. I willed the shadow arms to slowly draw near unto Wu Huang. A flicker of wrath passed through Wu Huang's crossed eyes. It spread its wings and shrieked unto the heavens. The cry was a piercing screech. The sound was deafening unto mine ears. A multitude of Ochin swarmed o'er the hills and vales, charging madly upon me. Swiftly did I retrieve a canister of Bhutan from mine spatial ring. Fixing it unto the flame spitter, I cried, "Come forth! This wretched bird doth possess a mind for stratagem. To vanquish the horde, one must first fell their sovereign. 4 arms, rod of shadow, did simultaneously hurl their armaments onto him. The trick most common, turn the head and perish. I did retreat whilst spewing forth flames. If this persisteth, I shall not endure for long. The Blood Lord's summons doth reap a crimson tool. Alas, the vigor of mortal men is but finite. I shall drain thee unto thy death.
Hast thou presumed mine shadow arms were fashioned merely to wield armaments?
I charged forth unto his very visage, and drew forth the final cylinder of liquid gas from mine spatial ring, wrenching open its valve. I thrust it straightway into his mantle. Dost thou not relish such feasts? Then partake of this. The sovereign O grew frenzied, thrusting his beak toward mine head. I inclined mine head, and evaded the blow, whilst simultaneously striking forth with a palm of heavenly thunder. The lightning did strike the cylinder of liquid gas. Flames erupted fiercely upon the sovereign O. His mantle and top hat were set ablaze, transforming him into a colossal bird of fire. At last, he tore himself from the grasp of the shadow arms, and soared into the heavens, wreathed in roaring flame. I pivoted, and charged unto the lair of sovereign O. My quarry hath changed. I shall put it to the torch. The nest was kindled, and did burn. A grand inferno surged toward the firmament, illuminating the entirety of the sea. His sanctuary lies in ruins. Let us see how he might parade his arrogance now. The sovereign O, witnessing his nest ablaze from the heavens above, did loose a howl of utter despair. Reckless of all else, he plummeted upon me with a vengeful dive, a plunge to our mutual doom. Come forth! I gripped fast the Blood Lord's summons, taking aim at Sofri. Yet midway through his descent, a sudden conflagration consumed his wings. Reduced to bone, he plummeted akin to a stone, and struck the earth but 3 paces before me. His crimson left eye still pulsed with a feeble light, yet the avian sigil upon him was utterly shattered. Wherefore possesseth thou such might? For I am no simpleton. Prail ought never to rebel. The trial of combat is fulfilled. Slain is the non-human ascendant. Oh. I collapsed upon the soil, drawing heavy, labored breaths. A flock of Oo have scattered unto the winds. A deathly silence have claimed the sea cliff. I cast mine eyes upon the mystic ledger. The essence of experience is gathered, though my standing remaineth unchanged. Yet the 4th echelon draweth ever nearer. I rose and approached the carcass of the sovereign Oo. The remains did slowly diminish in stature, reverting unto the form of a common gull, save that it was charred black by the flame. Upon the demise of a non-human ascendant, relics of the extraordinary are left in their wake. A cloak of unseen shadows, the fine headgear of Clan Lin, and the mundane ring of the sovereign O, of fine make, bestowing 2-fold vigor, and the lesser art of absolute command. Wondrous spoils, most notably this band. I gathered the ring and secured all 3 artifacts within my pouch. Thereafter, I set to the cleansing of the battlefield. Lastly, I captured likenesses of the carnage upon my scrying glass. Though I have vanquished the foe by mine own hand, the mandated rites and procedures must yet be observed, lest this foul gull harbors conspirators in the shadows.
The dawn draweth nigh.
I must needs return. I turned my back upon the sea, having concluded the final labors of concealment. I mounted mine electric steed and made my arduous way toward the chamber of surveillance. The quest is fulfilled. Personal appraisal. Rank A.
Quest appraisal.
Dao has completed a mortal struggle against a supreme beast single-handedly.
And has emerged victorious.
Addendum. What in the heavens is a Fey Port Squaw?
Within this great ocean of mankind's collective consciousness and wisdom,
How much absurdity lieth hidden? Why doth such phrasing feel so wondrously awkward? It appeareth that to attain an appraisal of the S-tier, one must needs investigate the origins of this colossal skua. Had I but known, I would not have harbored thoughts of flight from the very beginning. It seemeth that in every quest henceforth, I must harbor no illusions of serendipity, but must instead confront the trials with zealous resolve
and devise stratagems of war.
Fortunately, the lesson imparted this day is tolerable, exacting a toll of naught but a single talisman and a solitary vial of elixir. Scarce had I returned to the surveillance chamber of my employ and reclaimed my seat upon the chair, when a missive from Chu Shatao manifested before me.
How fairest thou? Is it not wondrous?
I opened the spectral image of the armaments he had sent. The Archangel kinetic revolver, of exquisite craftsmanship, undeniably. Truly the destitute perish of their poverty, whilst the opulent perish of their wealth. I rubbed my visage,
And the events of this very eve.
I recounted unto Gu Xiaoqiao in their absolute entirety. Allow me to handle this matter on thy behalf. As for the armaments borne upon that avian beast, if they be not of exorbitant worth, I shall report them to the higher authorities in due time, and barter them to reclaim resources for thee. Upon receiving this affirmative vow, I exhaled a breath of profound relief. Finding my spirit at peace, I sank heavily into the seat behind my bureau. A knock did sound upon the chamber door.
丁小长附的我道，普京行很扫，比获得绿营寡士。
Striking a posture he deemed gallant, yet which proved most foolish.
Art thou alone?
Wherefore is the fair proprietress? Rongji hath retired to her slumber. This inhuman evolver I did slay possessed the mystic art of invisibility, and hath purloined a great deal of Rongji's possessions. 'Tis done. I have laid a minor temporal ward, a barrier that distorts reality itself. Its efficacy shall endure but 10 minutes. I bid thee make haste. Never before have my eyes laid upon an inhuman evolver. Is this truly the reality distortion ward? This artifact was bestowed upon me by the Order, and may be invoked without limit to its uses. Its soul implies that after a season of use, it must be returned to the Order to be imbued with power anew. Those peddled by the authorities in the Great Bazaar are but fleeting consumables, akin to rendering fat, instruments crafted to reclaim coins of purification. Once thou attainest the 5th tier, thou mayest purchase them in the bazaar. Alas, I am forbidden to bestow such artifacts upon thee, for the Order's governance is exceedingly strict. It is fortunate the one thou swest was an inhuman evolver. The Order's scrutiny regarding such grievously perilous, unearthly creatures is uncommonly lenient. Indeed, they tacitly urge evolvers to surrender the remains, to serve the pursuit of study and lore. Thou art truly favored by the heavens.
To lay claim to such renowned raiment.
Had this ensemble fallen into my grasp, I should have no further need to procure worldly garments.
The authorities do also reclaim such shattered, extraordinary vestments.
Brother, Qin, thou shouldst duly ponder pledging thyself to our gone Godrans. With thy boundless potential, the recompense for thine entry shall surely be no lesser than mine own. Nay, let it be. I harbor no thoughts of it for the nonsense. Once these artifacts be yielded up,
What measure of goods dost thou deem they might fetch in exchange?
I reckon they shall procure a fair bounty of practical provisions.
When the hour arrives, I shall see if I might render unto thee
Their worth in evolution coin.
Yet, the rites of approval are exceedingly slow.
Methinks it shall require some 10 days' time.
The sole boon therein is that
I, fair mistress of business, shall have stewards set to properly mend the aftermath. Nor shall thine identity be laid bare. I thank thee, brother.
say no more.
'Tis I who must thank thee for this heaven-peering merit. Forsooth, 'tis wondrous tiding for me.
I stand to garner a great sum of contribution merit.
The treasures I might barter for are far less costly than those hawked within the pavilion of evolution.
When the time is nigh, I shall convert the sum to evolution coin and bestow it upon.
Tarry a moment. By the gods.
连提议我打死他，也在配合闹戏。
But straight away invoke the phantom chalice within the palace of evolution.
Even quality of the first tier shall suffice.
Without the slightest hesitation, I commanded forth to accept the legacy. Tremendous void of weight forthwith
shrouded mine entire mortal coil.
My body grew rigid. My eyes lost their worldly focus,
As though plunging into the pitch-black abyssal sea. In a trice, my flesh was engulfed by a viscous kyo. All about me was a profound and unfathomable dark.
My silhouette sank deeper into the gloom.
And vainly did I struggle with all my might, my visage twisted in agony, all mine senses thrown wide open. Of a sudden, I
Beheld the myriad of hues that mortal tongue could never voice.
the red shone redder still, and the green yet greener.
Was a colossal palace of jade, such as a painter might spend a lifetime striving to depict.
Echoing with solemnity, majesty, and a sovereign's might. The very breath caught in my throat. Phantoms of every guise, beyond the bounds of my wildest fancies, swept across the firmament above. An ethereal voice resounded within my known being. A new walker hath been discovered. Number 846. Inspecting the mental body.
the spiritual body and etheric body do meet the covenant's measure.
The succession doth commence. Who speaks?
Yet, none answered.
Close by my side, a prodigious silhouette was swiftly drawn, clad in scales and armored in valor.
How gargantuan! What manner of beast is this?
A statue, perchance. That towering idol of obsidian? Upon its form, flames began to sprout like the branches of a tree. At long last, I beheld it in its entirety. Was a divine avian, bathing in the inferno, devouring. Is it alive? Scarcely had this thought taken root within my breast, when the divine fowl before me did suddenly and fiercely cast open its eyes.
4 pupils of dark gold
Locked their gaze directly upon mine own widened eyes. My mind was wholly ensnared by the 4 halos of dark gold within those orbs. My consciousness did gradually drift away, my vision blurring, my pupils dilating into the void. It was a heavy slumber, as though ages had passed. Yet, in truth, 'twas but a fleeting instant when I slowly opened mine eyes.
My sight had astonishingly fractured into manifold.
父，李天一，李天一，
Art thou unharmed? What hath just befallen thee? Thou wert mid-speech. How didst thou suddenly swoon? How long have I been lost to the waking world? The barrier of distorted reality hath already vanished. It now 15 minutes since thou didst fall unconscious. I am unharmed. I but procured some trifles from the Evolution Palace. I shall speak of this in detail, anon.
Make haste and attend to that matter for me first.
Hark! Thou art even more of a scoundrel than I. What wondrous treasures hast thou drawn?
Sit speak, I say.
Paying no heed to my clamoring companion, I returned before the scrying visions.
And earnestly examined the condition of my flesh upon awakening.
I felt only as though my body had been consumed by flame, stung by piercing agony. I cast aside my garments and looked down upon the most scorching affliction across my breast.
There, one could faintly discern scales of dark azure, alongside feathers of iridescent hues.
Inheritance of the ancient fiend, remnant soul and dual pupils of the hummingbird.
Description: an inheritance of a mystical beast from the primordial classic of mountains and seas. Upon acquisition,
It shall bestow upon the inheritor certain innate talents of the beast. Dual pupils strengtheneth one's vision. It may, to a certain measure, transcend the limitations of mortal sight and pierce through all illusions.
manifest majesty. Whensoever avian creatures appear nigh unto the inheritor,
They may, of their own volition, invoke the state of manifest majesty.
are these artifacts
Truly such things as can be drawn from a premium coffer.
Could it be for I had slain the humanoid behemoth?
I hastened to the washroom to examine my reflection within the looking glass. When I invoke the dual pupils of my own accord, mine originally ordinary brown irises get conspicuously morph into a hue of dark gold. As I cast my gaze about, the entire chamber was rendered into a realm of stark black and white. I could perceive, even within the drainage basin of the washing trough, the most slender of hairs adrift in the foul waters.
If 'tis said that the dual
Pupils, this everlasting and immutable skill, grants a supportive boon, then the art of manifest majesty can truly be deemed formidable. However, conditions to invoke it are exceedingly rigorous. It can only be invoked when fowls of the air are in proximity. Yet, what measure of distance truly constitutes proximity?
must the avian creature be among the living or the dead?
Does a bird of bronze count as a true bird? It seems I must needs consume more elixirs of sheep's blood. Henceforth, I must provision my satchel with an abundance of red dates. Anon, I shall procure a counterfeit bird or an avian plaything to test whether the art of manifest majesty may be invoked thereby. As for this mystic art, for now, I can but test the explosive vigor and might it bestows, as well as its utmost limits of swiftness. To truly seek out a soul to slay, merely to test this art, is a dark deed my conscience cannot bear. Upon further inquiry,
I realized I had indeed stumbled upon a treasure of unimaginable worth.
Within the Grand Archives, regarding the ancient fiends,
There are absolutely no missives detailing their lineage. There exist only bounties seeking their acquisition. The price is not explicitly declared.
The seekers offer but one promise. Name the price.
And as for the special ordained quests concerning the primordial realm of mountains and seas, the authority to consult such matters demands an evolver to attain the formidable rank of level 2. It seems, henceforth, chests must not be opened with such reckless abandon. They must only be unsealed when Qiu Shaochao is by my side. Pondering these matters, his soul was tormented by an insatiable itch to test this new art, whereupon he arose with haste. He made ready to venture unto the nocturnal farmer's market to procure a fowl, that he might test the mighty inherited art of manifest majesty. In the twinkling of an eye, the morrow's afternoon arrived. I was within my dwelling, simmering a broth of fowl, having caught wind of the tidings.
Go Saital had already begun to pound upon my chamber doors.
Thou hast toiled greatly. Thou hast toiled greatly.
I, girded in my apron, bade him take the seat of honor. With fervent hospitality, I welcomed Gu Shaochao into my abode, and even thoughtfully drew back his stool for him. By the heavens, hath the sun risen from the west? The miser doth finally pluck his own feathers. Alas, for a feast such as this, we twain should have dined abroad. Would cost thousands of coins. To prepare a feast at mine own hearth doth show true sincerity, and saveth no small measure of silver. It's truly a strike that felleth two birds. Aye, aye, whatsoever thou speakest is the gospel truth. How fares the handling of that certain matter? I have delivered the scrolls unto the superiors, for it doth concern beasts of unnatural evolution. The high lords look upon it with grave concern.
They have already dispatched an emissary to aid thy fair mistress of the shop in resolving her woes, and to perform a full inquisition of the spirit withal.
Furthermore, all who frequent that nightless merchant stall, whose names are writ within the ledger of trade, shall be traced, one by their registered seals, and visited at their very thresholds for testing, lest any foul corruption take root hereafter. Bearing the broth of fowl and ginseng, afloat with crimson dates, I stood somewhat transfixed. Such draconian measures to the trial mandated by decree.
Elsewise, wherefore dost thou think the foreign lands are plunged into such chaos, lest our realm of Hor remaineth untouched by peril?
'Tis the silent vigil and toil of the realm behind the veil. Those tales of cataclysm were not woven without cause. Methought of a matter, and did set down the broth. Casting off my protective gauntlets, I took my seat across from him. Then wherefore hath no inquisitor graced my door to examine me?
Thine elder brother had shielded thee from it.
My reasoning was most sound, I assure thee. Thou art my dear and favored son. 'Tis only fitting my father doth conduct the trial himself. Moreover, ere the beast appeared, thou wert at the academy entirely,
And didst not set foot in thy place of labor.
Thy fair mistress of the shop hath proven herself a true comrade too. Though dragged before the secret guard, and terrified beyond measure, she swore vehemently she had not laid eyes on thee for many a moon, for fear of dragging thee into the mire. Didst thou open a coffer on the yestereve? What arcane mysteries didst thou pull from within? Wilt thou withhold this secret even from me? I have acquired a most formidable power,
Yet 'tis bound by many a stricture.
to invoke it, a living avian must be within 100 paces. Upon slaying a foe, one be briefly usurped their arts. This art belongeth to that non-human ascendant of the 5th tier, the exclusive mastery of Ultian. It is indeed befitting the seagull's own nature and station. To plunder, sayest thou? Even to hold such power but fleetingly is a mighty boon. Yet, the strictures for its invocation are exceedingly vexing. I have already put it to the test. The cast requires an avian creature within 100 paces, and it must needs be a living, breathing creature.
Neither a slain beast nor a crafted illusion shall suffice.
At first I had thought to procure a clockwork fowl, or perchance a moving tapestry or parchment bearing its likeness,
To test its efficacy.
Alas, to my great dismay, not even a slaughtered fowl could compel it to awaken. Alas. Pray tell, hast thou not a certain artifact?
Wherein Shen Wanyu doth take her lodging.
Are there any such relics that may house a living beast within one's mystic pouch? Aye, they are legion, such as familiars, beast-taming coffers and summoning manifestations, or spirit-binding orbs and other such wares. All permit the bearing of living creatures into our fated quests. Yet, these treasures demand a hefty toll of gold, if fortune smiles upon thy draws. It's well enough, but shouldst thou seek to barter for them in the grand bazaar?
The price shall be steep indeed.
Yet one more inquiry doth plague me. Should I wish to seek out trials of my own accord, what course must I take? That I may answer thee. Firstly, thou couldst pledge thyself unto a guild, as I have done,
To wander off Nene, the grounds where uncanny occurrences unfold.
Secondly, to journey in the company of an evolver, to possess the relics of the quest, or to be bidden unto the endeavor. Upon bidding farewell unto Gyoshochel, I made no haste to seek out new quests, nor did I set forth to put my newfound arts to the proof.
But rather, I journeyed unto the merchant of fireworks.
Greetings! Are the fireworks I bespoke prepared?
Aye, they be ready.
Greetings. I am come to claim the blade of metal.
'Tis finished.
I have forged an extra one for thee. Take it, that thou mayst have a spare. Thereafter, I procured a parrot from the market of beasts in blooms. Henceforth, whithersoever I travel, this fowl shall bear me company. Thus it is ensured that, whilst traversing the mortal realm upon my steed, I may summon forth the whirlwind art at my pleasure. In bygone days, the Forsaken Town was but a humble hamlet by the sea, sustained by the fisher's toil. Then came the great conflagration upon the village. The solitary dwelling, wherein the greatest multitude resided, was consumed by the flames. The final few households of the town
Did utterly forsake this place some 5 or 6 winters past.
Having ridden for several scores of minutes, I arrived at the outermost bounds of the town. I dismounted my electric steed,
Bearing the birdcage veiled in cloth of black,
and began to cast mine eyes upon the environs.
The midday sun did blaze in the heavens above.
yet the gentle winds, sweeping from the sea, could not dispel the profound desolation of the Forsaken Town.
The portals of many a lowly abode stood ajar.
Their blast panes shattered unto ruin. Even in the light of day, a pitch and darkness dwelled within. I brought forth the engine of power and raised my pavilion.
40 minutes did I labor to rear the vessels of extraction and all such apparatus.
The humors within the glass alembic did begin to froth and bubble. Verily, 'twas but the purifying of the firearm's essence to dismantle the festive pyrotechnics and fashion rudimentary charges of earth and thunder. Verily, a phantom of guilt crept into my breast, akin to the illicit alchemists of old, a sensation of most clandestine trepidation. With a casual hand, I awakened the wireless vessel of sound and set it to recite the auditory trials of the Anglish tongue. Then, bringing forth the torch of fire I had long prepared, I busied myself in joining bespoke tubes of steel to forge armaments of self-preservation. The day did fleet by as a passing shadow.
The solar orb did slant towards the west.
Amidst the tall grasses, where the winged creatures take flight, as the sun drew near to the mountain's edge, the insects within the desolate grounds commenced their twilight chorus. I cast my arms wide in a languid stretch, and at last, a profound peace settled upon my spirit.
Possessing such contrivances as these,
Should I cross paths with a beast of that sovereign caliber once more? I am steadfast in my certainty to vanquish it ere 10 minutes have passed. Knowledge is dominion. In this adage, there lies not a sliver of falsehood. My secondary purpose for dwelling in this forsaken place was born whilst perusing the moving tapestries of the ethereal web.
I laid eyes upon a vision most favored, praised by 1,000 souls and more.
Its contents spoke solely of restless spirits haunting this unpeopled township.
Whispers and rumors of phantoms in the dark.
The genesis of this tale was a seeker of the supernatural,
And a prominent proclamation etched beneath his public ledger.
challenging him to project his midnight vigil from this very cursed earth. In sum, 3 days have elapsed since his nocturnal exhibition, and his ledger hath remained utterly silent since. Approaching several venerable edifices that bore the black scars of fire, I gazed into the pitch-black maw of the grand hall and its corridors. With nary a hesitation, I crossed the threshold into the ruined construct. In my grasp, I brought forth my scrying device and began it pore over the annals of the great conflagration. One Madame Zhu, known as Squee, stood accused of malevolent fire-raising, bringing about the demise of no fewer than 10 souls, amongst them an innocent babe. Attending to the 3rd tier, I abruptly extinguished the light of my device. From mine ears to perceive with absolute clarity sounds descending from the corridor above. Would seem a parley was taking place. Is this not excessively wicked?
The sovereign reigns supreme. Hold thy tongue. The mortals are perished. What phantoms could remain?
Think thy role as a schemer, bereft thee of thy wits?
What manner of thing is this?
'Tis the collective consciousness of mortal wisdom, the conceptualized manifestation of the grand ocean.
Born solely of fabrication. If we borrow not the fervor of this grand scrying to give conceptual form unto the macabre, shall I offer thee as tribute when the moon wanes?
This murmuring emanated most evidently from the shaft of ascension.
Had mine hearing not far surpassed that of mortal men, I would never have discerned these hushed whispers.
Lay the blame upon that scoundrel, the cold-blooded blade.
He vanished into the ether ere the final tribute was paid. Who knoweth if he perished within his fated quest, or if he was seized by the non-Culturan syndicate?
Verily, he hath led us to grievous ruin.
Now, by summoning the cursed kin,
We exhausted a great bounty of extraordinary relics.
thereafter,
Vanquished by Susha, our wondrous artifacts
suffered catastrophic ruin.
If thou dost not scheme to amass coins of evolution,
Thou shalt surely perish in the next mandated trial of heartbreak.
How shall we proceed, my lord? I am at thy command. Make haste, and arrange the wards of the Holing Township. This time, let us alter our stratagem.
We shall not strike directly at the Emperor's tomb we have conjured.
Within thy possession.
Hast thou not still a few barriers that warp reality?
Anon, we shall procure a few living souls, and cast them into the reality-warping barriers.
Let us attempt to forge a few ascended ones for the market.
Doth death not equate to sheer murder?
Why dost thou feign the guise of a saint here?
When erst I beheld thee twist the barrier,
To dally with those young maiden scholars?
wherefore dost thou laugh with such abandon? In the lands of the southeast, a breathing soul fetcheth but 300,000. A scoundrel that stealeth a babe gaineth but 30,000. Do they commit such deeds merely to sustain their own lives?
Aye, 'tis solely for the swift harvest of coin. I forsooth the fair passively, having yet a moon's span to make ready.
As my memory doth not deceive me,
Thy impending and ordained trial shall fall upon thee within the passing of 10 days. How many artifacts of extraordinary virtue remain unto thee?
thou hast not but a single weapon left, hast thou not? If art thou of any talisman of defense, that meager sum of purification coin shall procure thee but a few draughts of healing.
As the proverb saith, better a fellow brother perish.
Should fortune favor us to forge an awakened one by mortal hand, that alone shall yield 4,000 coins of purification.
A bounty sufficient to barter for twain extraordinary artifacts. The choice, therefore, doth rest with thee.
I have chanced upon the confederate of the merciless blade.
By their speech, it doth appear they possess the art of invoking spirits.
That is to say, they craft fell anomalies within the waking world by mortal will, much like Suni, vending these cursed oddities unto the awakened, using them as instruments to beckon trials and amass power.
Verily, their prior conjuration of Suni
Shalt cost these two scoundrels most dearly. Thus they have cast their covetous gaze upon forging awakened ones by art. Furthermore, there exist grand consortiums of immense wealth, offering vast sums to procure the awakened, or to rear them as champions, or perchance to ascend as the awakened themselves. Driven by some hidden these truths hold equal sway over the sovereign order of Tudong. Yet the path most oft-trodden by the order of Chuding is to extend most favorable boons, to draw in brethren, or to ensnare those elites who have trespassed in sin, that the sentence of death may be meted upon them, thus bringing forth the awakened anew. Little did I foresee that I should find myself within this very place, crossing paths with twain flesh peddlers of the awakened, and hearkening unto their discourse. It doth seem their inherent gifts are bound to such dark arts, transitioning from the peddling of anomalies under the forging and brokering of artificial awakened. I am resolved. It shall be as thou commandest, master. 'Tis the proper spirit, Hectares. The heavens have bestowed upon thee the gift of spirit invocation, and hath led thee unto me, who wieldeth the spirit of the void maw. Such is the will of heaven. We twain are destined for boundless wealth. In times to come, by the grace of these twain gifts, shall we rise as supreme entities atop the palace of evolution. I shall make thee comprehend that not only the maidens of this realm shall be thine to claim at thy pleasure, but even the grandeur and riches of the entire world shall be but a grasp away. Thou knowest well these be no empty promises. Toil diligently, therefore. Once the array of spirit invocation hath been laid, thou shalt unseal the barrier of reality's distortion. I have already chosen the first flock of sacrificial lambs. We shall use the fellowship of that wandering scryer of spirits. I have already held counsel with him, bidding him gather a greater host of his followers to venture forth together into the wilds. When next they choose their grounds to project their visions, we shall trail their steps once more. Thus, naught shall be laid to waste. Furthermore, we may exploit the clamor of their vanishing to invoke yet another legion of anomalies. Verily, a most sound stratagem. Master, prithee bid him summon a greater share of female followers then. Thou knave. Twain wretched scum. To perish were too good a fate for them. Yet Ling Tian allowed not his mind to be clouded by such matters. He began a most sober reckoning of their present plight. From the discourse of these twain, he could divine that both adversaries must be awakened of at least the 5th tier, possessing the gifts of spirit invocation and the void maw. Their former endeavors, barely, it must be, akin to an awakened such as the rooflet's blade, or providing anomalies to a certain sect, thereby reaping evolution coins or transcendent armaments. Yet, concerning their might, it should scarce differ from that of the 5th tier, ruthless blade. The twain have suffered grievous losses aforetime, and their strength hath greatly waned. Thus came the matter of Luoya Jun kneeling to beseech the appraiser, seeking to glean transcendent armaments. Yet, one cannot preclude the possibility that the awakened amongst them known as the chief is a man of deeper cunning, for judging by their tone, they have undertaken such endeavors more than once. Hence, their prowess may well reside around the 7th tier. Is roughly so. Contrary to the encounter with the vile knight, Crimson Sun, within the dungeon realm. Judging by the laws of triggering heretofore observed, when I was but at the first tier, facing the ruthless blade, who surpassed me by 4 tiers, the title, Vanquishing the Mighty as the Meek, invoked a single point of passive attribute, whereas within the script's trial,
The Ghost Lord's Descent, which sufficed to slay the 7th tier Vile Knight,
directly bestowed 2 points of passive attributes. This doth sufficiently prove that by the judgment of the Evolution Palace,
the might of these twain surely exceeds not the 8th tier.
and having suffered grievous losses, the transcendent artifacts upon their persons are but few. Gazing upon the only ones within my ledger of allies, young Master Zhao,
And the Yumitian disciple.
I hesitated for a brief moment
Before sending a secret missive to the Unetian disciple. Dost thou still sell the flame talismans?
The Yuanshan disciple replied in the blink of an eye, "Nay,
Dharma talismans I possess. On clearance for 100 evolution coins.
7 pieces in total,
2 palm lightning, 1 suppressing spirit talisman, and a 3 officials ghost searching talisman. Such a price is but half of what the Evolution Emporium demands. Naturally, this cost cannot compare to the bounty offered within the trial dungeon of yore. Yet at that time, 'twas to fulfill our shared quest. Whatever the bounty, 'twill be used within the survival quest, to his own advantage. And now that the Unetian disciple remains willing to trade,
seems most assuredly to lay the foundation
for the ensuing dual destiny quest. Hence his willingness to vend the talisman at but half the toll.
The golden light incantation Lin Tengyi hath beheld but once. 'Tis a mighty incantation, sufficient to withstand a single blow
From the ethereal assault of a ghost lord, offensive ward against such spirit-born strikes.
Such a ward cannot even be procured within the Emporium.
Only the Yuanetian disciple,
A most orthodox transcendent of the Taoist order,
could bring forth such a marvel. The cactus sealed. 100 evolution coins have been transferred.
having secured the distant aid of the Unetian disciple,
Bing Tian's heart found great resolve. The foe stands in the light, whilst he dwells in shadow, gazing upon a satchel, brimming with forged armaments in preparation for the coming fray. And Tianyi even finds the fleeting chance
to quietly weave his hidden countermeasures.
at this very hour. The one known as Seeker of Survival, bearer of the Channeler title, now holds forth several pouches of blood. With utmost caution, he squeezes the crimson essence evenly to inscribe an intricate summoning array of unparalleled complexity. Once the array hath fully manifested, he ignites candles along a chaotic alignment. Around him, complex designs in the shape of the 8 trigrams have been threaded. Standing beside him stands a narrow-faced man, bearing a vessel brimming with incense ash and spirit money. Level 7 Giant Soul Reaper, Hante Sui, and Seeker of Survival. Grasping the spirit money mingled with incense ash, he scatters it handful by handful beyond the array. The rustle of the descending spirit money thickens, like unto some ancient requiem. A mandate from the Palace of Evolution hath manifested before me.
The conditions to invoke this trial have been fulfilled. Title of the mandate: Annihilation of all evils. Clarification: Trial of confrontation. Addendum: to uphold the righteousness within one's soul.
What matter is it to stand alone against 2?
Curses upon them.
How could a mandate be invoked? 'Tis an impossibility. The beasts of my summoning want to bear no sway over thee and me. They shall not invoke any mandate. Someone is nigh. An evolver treads near. Let us sally forth and slay this foe.
Chieftain, we shall act precisely as thou commandest.
Let us smite him to dust. I harbored no hesitation, but straightway accepted the charge upon the ethereal tablet. Thereupon, I leaped forth from the casement with utmost composure. Without, a stout rope descended from the highest rooftop. I found myself suspended midair. My boots braced firmly against the casement, as manifold spectral arms from behind my cloak of shadows clutched alchemical charges of mine own making. My gaze was fixed fiercely upon the corridor's casement above. The quarry doth reveal itself. Without a moment's pause, I ignited the several pouches of powder and cast them swiftly through the aperture. Curses! What devilry is this? Mine eyes burn. Haste! Bring me the elixir of healing. The essence of cooled blood I distilled this afternoon, once alchemically bound with quicklime and caustic salts, wreak catastrophic ruin upon the eyes and the breath of life. With this deadly stratagem unleashed, it seemed to yield an immediate and grievous toll. Yet, in that self-same instant, several vengeful wraiths materialized from the void around me, clinging desperately to my very limbs. I swiftly cast forth 2 sigils from the palm of my hand to invoke their power. Concurrently, without the edifice, a great tempest of iridescent green mist was born of the empty air.
Borrowing the concussive force delivered by the palm thunder, I swung directly toward the adjacent window, entering the ruined chamber. I drew forth a peach wood sword, and with a single strike, pierced the shadow upon his leg with frost.
Is that so?
For this is a quest of mortal combat.
Are you willing to yield first?
Regardless, the penalty for the quest's failure falls upon me.
I, for one, am willing to forge a friendship in the waking realm,
Relinquishing the quest amidst such grievance.
Thy voice hath nor yet healed,
And it showeth a tendency to grow ever more hoarse. Such a potent measure, if sprinkled directly upon the affliction, shall possess an efficacy no less formidable than Master was.
Even now, I cannot behold your virtual nameplates. Were better if ye approach slowly, that we might vanquish him together.
Very well.
Then perhaps I should do the same. Nay, I shall bid my brother leap down from the tower to stand in the open courtyard and converse with thee. This is but the enemy's stratagem to delay our advance.
Perchance.
Their very intent is to strike us from front and rear.
This settled. No issue.
Upon the upper floor, Han Taisi cast a glance unto Jiyobuzi,
Signal that they should part ways and act.
whilst I, with unhurried grace,
Drew forth from my satchel an object bound like an iron barrel.
a handheld contraption of such shape, the Gatling firework cannon, and aimed it toward the threshold of the door. The beating of my heart echoed within mine ears. It appeared the adversary
Was weaving some fell sorcery beyond the chamber doors.
Alas, brother,
Cease hurling such contrivances.
this is but a warding array for my known protection. I let out a cold scoff. Then, with the muzzle fixed upon the doorway, I pulled the trigger. The foe had vaulted outward from the flank of the stairway. From this present vantage, no mortal silhouette may be discerned.
This antiquated corridor harbors but two abodes.
There exist but two paths of retreat to the grounds below, the stairway, and the forsaken shaft of the ascending hoist. He now holds the vantage of the defender. Unless the adversary possesses the art of flight,
It would prove a most arduous task to assail him by way of the casement